land of the free and the home of the brave. The voice of victory, Wayne Messmer, with our national anthem. Let's hope he is the voice of victory today. Coming up, Cubs need a win. They're taking on the Reds. Line up some more coming up next.
Fox Sportsnet's coverage of Chicago Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by your local area Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Geico Direct. A 15-minute phone call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Comcast, proud to be Chicagoland's cable company. Mike's Hard Lemonade. Hardly the usual, make it a Mike's. Chevy. See your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealer today for your chance to win a Chevy Equinox in the Summer of Baseball promotion. Walgreens, the pharmacy of the Chicago Cubs. Aflac, ask about it at work. Toyota, get the feeling. And by Southwest Airlines. Over 2,800 nonstop daily flights to 60 destinations all across the country.
There's a bit of a debate up in our broadcast booth as to the exact color of the sky. I think, Steve, it's more a cerulean blue. You, however, have a differing opinion.
I believe that it's an azure blue as far as blue goes, but you never know as we move along.
It could change.
We see how the emotions of this game swings because, as you know, it's an emotional roller coaster.
And we've had too many blue days the last week or so. As you see the temperature, 67 degrees, not a whole lot of wind to speak of. It is blowing toward the Cub dugout off Lake Michigan, so it should be a pretty good day to pitch. Mark Pryor's on the mound for the Cubs, seeking his 7th win. He's given up 1 earned run in his last 15 innings and 2/3, and if the Cubs are fortunate enough to earn their way into the postseason, having Mark Pryor throwing the baseball the way he has been of late could be a very big lift for a Cub team right now that I think has to quite honestly be stunned, finding themselves a half game back now in the wild card after losing 4 of their last 6 to the New York Mets and the Cincinnati Reds, who are trying to be the spoiler today.
Well, there's also another factor, and it could work as a plus if the Cubs can indeed get there, and that is last year they had both Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, even though he missed a month, it was the most innings he had pitched in the major leagues and in professional baseball, and Carlos Zambrano in the same spot. So if the Cubs do get to the postseason, they've got only 21 starts under the belt for Kerry Wood. For Mark Pryor, he's making his 21st start. Normally they figure a full season is anywhere from 32 to 33 starts. So these guys should be rested, and now all the Cubs have to do is win out or win more games than the 2 wild card contenders, and they will have some rested starters to go into the postseason. But first they have to take care of business, and the business starts here with the Cincinnati Reds.
And their lineup looks this way, with Felipe Lopez leading off at third base. D'Angelo Jimenez bats and plays second. Sean Casey at first. Adam Dunn with 45 home runs, the cleanup man. Then it's Austin Kearns, Darren Bragg, Jason LaRue behind the plate. Anderson Machado, the slick fielding shortstop, hits 8th, and the king-sized right-hander Aaron Harang will pitch in bat 9.
Mark Pryor on for the 21st start. He's in search of his 7th win. The ERA up over 4, most unfamiliar for him.
Lopez takes a called strike. Darrell Cousins, the arbiter behind home plate. Joe West, Mike DeMuro, and Paul Emmel join him on the base paths today. Lopez, 1 for 15 in this series, is down 2 strikes.
What I found from Mark Pryor in his last few starts is that breaking ball has started to tighten up, and with it, his control has gotten a whole lot better.
He paints the inside corner. 3 pitches, and Lopez carved up. 1 man down.
Fastball, curveball, fastball, that one a beauty. And with Paul Bacco behind the plate, Mark Pryor's ERA has been terrific, and so he's catching him today.
That brings up D'Angelo Jimenez. He's 4 for 11 in the series with a home run. And there's the first pitch out of the strike zone from Mark Pryor.
This guy can give you some problems from the left side. He's a switch hitter, but all of his damage, all 12 of his home runs, is a lefty.
Sliced out of play, 1 ball, 1 strike. And he's found new life with this Cincinnati team. Jimenez has bounced around a couple of teams.
Last year with the White Sox, he wasn't a particularly good hitter. But when he came here, and here being Cincinnati, he hit 290. And from the left side this year, 282 with 12 homers.
Hard hit ball. Derek Lee to his right. Spears it. Finds Pryor. Good coordination. Fine play. 2 up, 2 down.
He has to backhand this ball in the hole. Not many first basemen make this play, and especially an accurate toss from his posterior. Good effort by Derek Lee. He's got great first step quickness, a completely accurate arm, and quickly 2 up and 2 down.
Here's Mighty Casey, Sean Casey, with 24 home runs and 99 driven in. Casey likens himself to a doubles machine. He's hit 44 of them. And he'll have to work extra hard to beat Mark Pryor, who looks to have excellent stuff very early in today's game. 1 ball, no strikes to the Reds' first baseman. High pop fly out of play, evens the count.
Let's take a look at the Corona defense and how they'll line up behind Mark Pryor. It's Alou, Patterson, and Sosa left to right with Ramirez, Garcia-Parra, Walker, and Lee. Paul Bacco behind the plate. Mark Pryor on the hill.
Casey digs back in now with a 1-1 count. And a check swing, pop fly down the left field line, out of reach of Ramirez. And Pryor has Casey behind in the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Casey makes a lot of contact. In fact, when you take a look at 554 previous at bats, he's only fanned 34 times. If you do happen to strike him out, that's a tip-off that you have exceptional stuff that day. You have to play him straight away because he hits the ball exactly where it's pitched.
Good eye, evens the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Have exceptional stuff. Pryor with a couple of strikeouts in the top half of our first inning. Here we go to the bottom of our first inning. Aaron Harang, the Reds pitcher. Let's check out the Cubs starting lineup with Corey Patterson, Nomar Garcia-Parra, and Aramis Ramirez hitting first, second, and third. Moises Alou, Sammy Sosa, Todd Walker at second base today. Eric Lee drops all the way down to 7th in the order for the 4th time this year. Paul Bacco catching Mark Pryor, and Mark will pitch at bat 9.
Here's a look at Aaron Harang on for his 28th start. He has a complete game. He's been a winning pitcher for a losing team, but his ERA up over 5. Opponents hitting 285. That's a very bad number. Means you give up a lot of hits, and there's some guys in this batting order that have killed him. Notably, Moises Alou.
Corey Patterson with single hits in each of his last 4 games leads things off for the Cubs. He's knocked in 4 runs in this series, a total of 72 RBIs on the year.
Talked to Harang before the game, and he said he uses the overhand curve as well as a slider and a 3-fingered change, so he has to use all 4 pitches to be effective.
And as you look at Harang, our looks deceiving as far as the velocity is concerned. He's a big man out on that mound.
He's 6'7", probably in excess of 250 pounds, and yet he's far from overpowering. That's why he has to change locations, change speeds. And for the Cubs, this is a must-win, non-debatable.
Ball 2 inside as we welcome our friends at Sprint Broadband and their viewers in Mishawaka, Indiana, to our final regular season look at the Cincinnati Reds. 2004, the 2-1 pitch to Patterson. He's hit a mile high on the infield. Left side of the diamond, Anderson Machado shields his eyes. He'll give way to Lopez, who staggers, but makes the catch for out number 1. We saw a lot of trouble by the right fielders in the game yesterday.
Let's take a look at the Red Corona defense and how they'll line up behind Harang. It's Dunn, Bragg, and Kearns with Lopez, Machado, Jimenez, and Casey. Jason LaRue behind the plate. Aaron Harang on the hill. This is just an average and sometimes below average defense. Cubs have tried to take advantage of a couple situations where the Reds failed to execute, but so far they've lost 2 of 3 to a team that's given them all they want.
High skies today. The wind not nearly as brisk as we saw in game 3 of the series. It was blowing in at 20 miles an hour yesterday.
It's going in toward the Cub dugout today, but it's going to aid the ball in left and left center. And that plays well for the right-handed power hitters. Yesterday, just the opposite. The ball would go out in right, not in left.
And Harang's bounced a couple of pitches up here in the first inning. 2 balls, no strikes for Omar. 15th different man for the Cubs this year to hit in the number 2 spot in the order. And Garciaparra filling that spot for the 10th time himself. Fly ball right center field. Kearns on the run. He's got a beat on it. And there's out number 2.
Well, that's the wrong field today, because the wind blowing in from right center knocked that one down, and Nomar hit it awfully hard. The wind is not going to be near as much of a factor, but it did wreak havoc with that one. And so you have Ramirez and Alou coming up, both of them with pretty good numbers against Harang.
35 homers, 101 driven in for Aramis, who hit a home run against Harang in 4 major league at-bats. That one's over the corner. Strike 1 called to Aramis Ramirez. Off his thumbs, popped up right side. Casey, a very slow horse, unable to catch up. It's out of play, 0-2.
Even if he got there, it would have been doubtful if he would have made that play. That ball wasn't hit all that high, and it was slicing away. And the oddity of baseball, it doesn't matter right or left-hand hitter, whether you slice it or hook it, every ball moves toward the line in either direction.
That moves Aramis's feet, and he takes it downstairs. One other game in progress, making that 2 other games in progress. Now Anaheim and Texas, the big one out west. No score in the 2nd inning. Anaheim has taken the AL Western lead. And Ramirez, that's a rare sight. Just his 61st strikeout this season and his 7th in the last 7 weeks. No score after 1. Well, we talked about it yesterday, that game against the Reds being maybe the biggest game of the year for the Cubs. As it turns out, they didn't win it. That makes today's game even more essential for the Cubs, who enter play a half game behind the Astros now in the wild card race.
Well, let's face it, this Cub team is not going to roll over and die. It's got too much talent to do that. And Dusty Baker's been through too many races to do anything less than play it right down to the finish. And so if his team doesn't get there, it will be very disappointing. It will be very much an underachieving team, but they will not go quietly.
Down
to see if they can get it done.
2 strikes as he's 1 away from tying Bobby Bonds' record of 189 strikeouts in a year.
Well, he's going to surpass that today if Mark Pryor continues with the stuff that he has, because striking out Sean Casey, that could have been the best curveball he's thrown all year.
Off the plate, Dunn took it. Now, yes, he will strike out a lot, but as we've seen in this series, number 1, he has a very good eye. He doesn't take too many third strikes, and when he connects, it is a bomb.
Wouldn't mind seeing him in left field for a lot of clubs in the league.
There's the record tire, number 189.
Remember, he'll wear that crown before this game is over. Good, hard, tight breaking ball. Bye-bye, Dunn. It's the kind of guy where you make a mistake and he hits it a mile, but he does have some holes. And again, when I say a lot of teams will covet him because he swings from the left side and has 55-60 homer potential and has almost a 400 on base percentage, you can live with the strikeouts.
Kearns takes a strike. Kearns was yesterday's villain. A 2-strike, 2-out double tied the game in the 9th. Then his 2-run homer in the 12th provided the game-winning hit for Cincinnati. And he said he's trying just to make something positive out of what, frankly, for him has been a lost year. Just 84 games because of various injuries for Cincinnati.
Well, he had a thumb injury. That really bothers a hitter. He's had shoulder surgery. He's had all kinds of assorted injuries. And so for him, it hasn't been the kind of year that he wants, but the Reds are confident he's going to be their starting right fielder next year. They wouldn't have mind if he was their starting third baseman. But that probably is not going to work out.
Way upstairs to Kearns. That'll wake you up. 1 ball, 2 strikes. they'll straighten him up at 2-2. One of the many intriguing questions for Reds fans will be who is going to start in the outfield. They've got 4 very talented position players for 3 spots. Driven right center field on a line. That's going to get to the ivy. And Kearns is on his way to second. He's going to make the turn. He's going to try. Here's the Walker relay throw. It is on target but late. Kearns with a triple.
Well, give a little credit to Austin Kearns because there's a lot of guys that would have pulled in at second and been content with a double. Just his second triple of the year. What he saw was the ball got stuck by the vines. And because he knew then that Corey Patterson was going to have to go and get it, he felt it was worth the shot. You take this gamble with 1 out. It's much more important with 1 out. It doesn't make quite as much sense with 2 outs. But he is able to make it.
Cubs did everything right. He read the play perfectly, and he's 90 feet away now for Darren Bragg. Bragg has bulked up to 8 RBIs for Cincinnati. Takes a breaking strike, 0-1.
Cubs have got the infield back. They're going to concede the run. Bragg has to make some contact. Pryor would like to stop him from doing that.
There's a good start. 0-2. That ricochets off Paul Bacco. Interesting atmosphere at the ballpark today. They were roaring in the 9th inning. Then obviously things didn't go well the rest of the way for the Cubs yesterday. There is my way of thinking, a subtle hangover from yesterday's game. There are a lot of nervous Cub fans here at the ballpark today.
Well, also there are probably a lot of folks that stayed up, as I did, watching San Diego defeat San Francisco. That was a big one because if San Francisco wins that, they would have gone up a game in the loss column. As it is now, 3 teams tied.
Bragg went around. I think he did. 2 outs. So in a contact situation, he can't make any.
Well, this is a team that just strikes out repeatedly. One of the reasons why they're going to finish up the track is no contact. With a man at third, the infield back, if Bragg bunts, if he just tries to tap the ball, if he does anything but overswing, he'll score a run. And on a day when runs probably will be at a premium, Cubs would love to keep Austin Kearns at third base.
1,291 strikeouts by the Reds hitters this year. That's worst in the National League. 1 ball, no strikes for LaRue. Got a young shortstop in Anderson Machado waiting next. He's a switch hitter who swings nearly exclusively from the left side, however.
LaRue is another one of those strikeout guys, however. Mark does have very good stuff today.
Good hitter's pitch. 2 balls, no strikes. High and out of play. Giants play the Padres later on. And they'll send Jerome Williams to the mound. He'll make his first major league start since the end of July. He had some surgery to remove some bone spurs and bone chips. He will face Adam Eaton in San Diego. Padres still think they have a shot. It's a big uphill climb for them. A lot of teams for the Padres to pass. 2 balls, 2 strikes for LaRue.
Padres have an advantage if in fact they can see a few of the teams in front of them lose at least a couple of times, because they end with Arizona. Houston ends with Colorado. The Cubs, as we know, end with Atlanta.
Strike three call. Pryor strikes out the side. He has 5 through 2. Cincinnati wastes a 1-out triple. Well, we say poo to the naysayers as well. The Cubs enter the bottom of the second inning. Mark Pryor is throwing laser beams right now. He struck out 5. And Aaron Harang will face the middle of the order. Moises Alou, Sammy Sosa, and second baseman Todd Walker.
Well, there's no doubt that Moises has been a fan favorite here. They're starting to call him Moose. And they know the damage he's done against Aaron Harang. So this should be a real good matchup for him.
4 for 5 with 3 home runs against the Reds right-hander. Way outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes.
If you get behind Moises, where he can guess fastball, there is no doubt in all of baseball he's still one of the greatest guess hitters in the game.
What does that mean when you say a hitter guesses? I mean, you don't know what's coming.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, what you do is in this situation, you guess either location or pitch. Moises is guessing fastball and middle in because he's ahead 2-0. If he gets anything else, he should take it. If he gets a fastball middle in, he should crush it. That's what being a guess hitter is all about.
There's the pitch, and he lined it to third.
Okay, so he guessed fastball middle in. He got it and just happened to line it out softly at Lopez. But I mean, he got the pitch he was looking for. It just didn't get by Lopez.
I mean, it really is obviously a game of percentages. We talk about on-base percentage. We talk about batting average. It is the same thing for a hitter or a pitcher. It's can you throw strikes in fastball counts to hitters?
Well, you just hope then on that pitch, it was a fastball count. He threw a fastball, but he threw it 3 inches inside off the plate, so he made a good pitch.
Here's Sammy Sosa. Milestone day for Sosa yesterday at Wrigley Field. Hits number 1,000 and 1,001 in this ballpark.
I thought that Sammy hit the ball yesterday better than anybody on the field consistently. He had a couple of hits to show for it and was just barely contained in the park. I mean, that bid for a grand slam was caught up against the vines. He hit it awfully hard another time to right field and then had 2 ringing base hits. So he's starting to find the stroke again, and Aaron Harang is a good matchup for him. He can't overpower him inside.
We've talked a lot in our 5 years together in the booth about when Sammy Sosa's swing is starting to come around. He does what he did yesterday and hit it for power the other way. Not necessarily for a home run or for a successful outcome of the at-bat, but that's a sign that he's seeing the ball real well.
Well, there would have been home runs except for the wind,
sure,
but he hit the ball hard enough taking it the other way, and yes, that's when they have to start coming into him.
Ground ball up the middle. Worked the count to his favor, and a base hit for Sosa. 1,002 hits at Wrigley Field for Sammy, and that'll bring up Todd Walker.
This is a slider from Harang, but Sammy was up looking for something out away because Harang was behind. And he took it right back through the middle. Maybe early in the year he would have tried to pull that ball. That yields a ground ball to the left side. This time he goes right back up the middle and gets a base hit.
Todd 4 for 9 with a home run, 4 knocked in the series. A former Cincinnati Red has knocked in 50 men in total this year. And that's taken for a ball low. 1 ball, no strikes. Good enough to catch the corner. One more interesting story out of that Colorado Dodgers series, which has already seen the Milton Bradley situation splashed across sports headlines across the country. Very quietly, Eric Gagne's got bursitis in the shoulder.
Well, one of the reasons why he's got bursitis in his shoulder is the trades.
Slow roller. I don't know if they can get 2 out of this. They'll get Sammy. The throw to first is not in time. Walker, the fleet-footed Louisianan that we know him to be, is able to beat the Rapid first for out number 2.
This ball wasn't hit very hard, and so you keep the inning alive by hustling up the line. And that's what Walker did. slowly hit ball, even though Walker gets turned around in the batter's box. Sammy goes in hard at second, and they can't get Walker. He helps out Joe West by giving him the safe sign. Now, why I say the trades got Eric Gagne some tendonitis and bursitis in the shoulder. They started to let him close and get 6 or 5 or 7 outs closing games. When they had Guillermo Mota and Tom Martin, he was asked to get 3 or 4 outs a game. By the extended work, the shoulder wears down. And so when your closer has shoulder problems, especially a closer the magnitude of Gagne, when you trade away the 2 guys in front of him that were charged with getting him the baseball and limiting the amount of outs he had to get to save it, you run the risk of having a closer with a sore shoulder at crunch time.
2-0 count for Derek Lee. A line drive softly served to right. It's going to drop in front of Kearns. Walker is going to head for third. The throw is way off target. Fortunately for Cincinnati, that didn't reach the tarp. First and third now with 2 outs.
This one off the end of the bat, but Derek Lee loops it in front of Kearns. Austin's got a pretty good arm. Not necessarily all that accurate, but pretty good. Now for Paul Bacco, he's going to take a look at where Lopez is setting up. If Lopez is back at third, pretty easy for Bacco to bunt for a hit. Now, although you don't see catchers bunting very often, he's able to do that, and it would get the Cubs a run. And Lopez is back at third, not even looking for the bunt.
Bacco with 10 RBIs with 2 outs, hits for the first time and takes a ball way upstairs. Contrast the Dodgers with Eric Gagne with Colorado, who, as Steve mentioned, will face Houston the final weekend. The Rockies have blown 33 saves this year, tying a major league record shared by Colorado and the Texas Rangers.
Well, they did a reverse of what Cincinnati did. They took a guy that was supposed to be their #1 starter, Sean Chacon. They made him a closer. Cincinnati a couple of years ago took their #1 closer and made him a starter. It hasn't worked particularly well in either case. Now Danny Graves is back closing where he feels comfortable, and no one knows what will happen with Chacon, who, by the way, blew a couple of leads and didn't close the game they won yesterday.
1 ball, 1 strike. That's downstairs. Harang knows the pitcher is due up next, but he best be careful for Mark Pryor, an excellent hitting pitcher. Well, that closer spot is a very difficult one to fill, and I applaud you and agree with you. Look, LaTroy Hawkins at the end of the day blew the save yesterday. That's going to happen. But Hawkins talked to the media, and we know that's been a contentious relationship at times this year. He said, hey, I blew the save. Got to go, forget about it, go get him tomorrow, if there is a tomorrow for him in this game today.
They got LaTroy Hawkins here to be a setup man. And LaTroy Hawkins was forced to close this year. That's not his long suit. He's done a good job of it. But he was one of the premier setup men in the American League. And the statement I always use is, if you buy a cat and for 2 years you're very happy, the 3rd year you can't get mad when he's not a dog. You bought a cat. The Cubs bought a premier setup man, and they would like LaTroy to be a premier closer. That's not what he was. Now, he can grow into that, but it takes a while, and it's not a logical transition. He was one of the best setup men in the American League for 2 years.
3-2 pitch. It's fouled away.
And that's what they intended for LaTroy Hawkins. They didn't know that Joe Borowski's arm was going to plague him. And because there was no one else to move into that role consistently, LaTroy took it. It hasn't been the best year. He's been just under a 75% closer. The premier closers are between 85 and 90%, but they've all grown into that role. And one day LaTroy might do the same thing.
Runner at first goes. The pitch back to the screen. We talked to Danny Graves about this very situation when we were in Cincinnati. Graves has been an outstanding closer for Cincinnati. If you can pitch the 9th, you can pitch the 8th. The reverse is not necessarily true, and that's what makes the function of a closer such a unique one in this
sport of baseball.
That's why the Cubs, once again, will have the advantage today because Graves is not around, and they will close with an unproven closer who's done the job for them.
And missed. Pryor hits with a chance to help himself.
And Mark Pryor can do that. He's hitting 152, not bad, has yet to drive in a run, but this is a golden opportunity to improve that stat. The Cubs, by and large, have a pretty good hitting staff. The best is Zambrano. He's been real good. Maddox actually hitting 167 this year, and that's been good. Also, Greg has driven in 5 runs. We know Glendon Rush has hit a couple of home runs. We saw one yesterday. So this group can swing the bat, and Pryor could use a base hit. Put himself on top 2-0 early.
Ball 1. There's a good start. Our first triple split of the day has Walker, Lee, and Baco aboard. This being our final Fox telecast, we're going to challenge Dave Turner, our fine Fox director, to
get what, five or six in there?
5 or 6, definitely a quad. But I don't know if we've had a 5 split
or a 6-pack. Well, speak for yourself.
We're definitely going to have a couple of those before the weekend's over. The pitch is in for a strike. 1-2 to Mark Pryor.
I tell you, I know you haven't seen it because you haven't been around that much, but I've been doing a lot of crunches during the season.
Yes.
Yes, I'm up to a half-pack.
You're a half-pack. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pryor takes a called 3rd strike, and the Cubs leave the bases loaded with 2 outs in the 2nd inning. No score heading to our 3rd. Cubs fans are invited to the Magical Gatherings vacation brought to you by AAA Travel. Join Hall of Famers Billy Williams and Fergie Jenkins with Aramis Ramirez, LaTroy Hawkins, Lee Smith, Jody Davis, Jim Henry, Sarge Matthews, and the cast of the Walt Disney World Resorts December 2nd through the 6th. Enjoy all the holiday magic in the Walt Disney World theme parks, including a welcome party, private events exclusive to Cubs fans, and more. Contact AAA Travel 866-4AAA-CUBS and purchase your Walt Disney World Magical Gatherings vacation package with the Cubs.
Machado faked a bunt and threw it back. He's hitting 333 from the left side.
Lays down a bunt. It's going to hit the lip of the grass and take a left turn. There's a good break. 2 strikes for Machado. One of a couple of players, Steve, they're auditioning at shortstop for the Reds, and that's another interesting conundrum. Barry Larkin has had a fine season. He'd like to come back and play for the Reds next year.
He's been a one-position player, and you don't find many 40-plus-year-old middle infielders. However, Larkin's had a very good year. Machado, on the other hand, strikes out too much for a guy who doesn't have a whole lot of power. Strikes out 40% of the time. But again, a very young man, so they've got Lopez, they have Machado, and they possibly have a consideration for Barry Larkin. Larkin does want to play. The question is, will Cincinnati invite him back?
And if not, how much does Larkin want to be paid to play away from Cincinnati? I personally think that Larkin does have another year or so of part-time duty left in him, and getting a chance to spend time with him and talk to him about a lot of different things, I think he would be a great addition for a playoff hopeful team.
I don't think it's going to be a question of money. I would think at this point that Barry probably has enough of that because of his long and very successful career. It's just a place where he fits in, and I think a place where, being a prideful man, where he can win.
2-2. There's the strikeout. Pryor goes up and away, and that's 6 on the afternoon. Here's Aaron Harang, who is not a good hitter. He's struck out 32 times this season alone. Strike, but a man 6'7" is going to have a couple of those called during the day, you'd figure. 0-1 your count. Just a shade past 2 o'clock here in Chicago. It's a gorgeous afternoon. Our final day of September. Tomorrow the Braves are in. October will be the month on the calendar, and hopefully the Cubs will be playing deep into the month of October. To do that, they've got to have a pretty good run over the final 4 play.
If you're still playing and the ivy starts turning a golden brown, you know you're having a good year.
Slowly hit to short. Harang doesn't run well. 2 outs. Back to the top and Felipe Lopez.
For the Cubs to have a real good year, the ivy's got to get a little browner than it is. Maybe a couple of weeks from now. Good play by Nomar. He flips it across. There's only been 1 hit for these Reds, the triple by Kearns.
Lopez took a called 3rd strike in the 1st inning. It's 1-0. Just a coincidence, the win total and the ERA total with Baco behind the plate for Mark Pryor.
Very good. ERA especially very good, and it's no reflection on anything that Michael Barrett has done or not done. It's just a question of Mark Pryor probably through 1 game felt comfortable with Baco. He might have caught because Barrett had caught a lot, or it was a very warm day. Sometimes you get comfortable and you wait and see what happens. So don't forget, as the games pile up, it becomes more difficult for the everyday catcher to keep his stroke and still catch.
Well, whatever Baco's calling, Pryor needs to keep throwing it. He has struck out 7 Reds in the first 3 innings of today's game.
Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Southwest Airlines. Over 2,800 nonstop daily flights to 60 destinations all across the country. Buick, the spirit of American style. And by Ricoh. How well do you print, copy, scan, fax? How well do you share?
Well, let's see if the top of the order for the Cubs can break through against Aaron Harang. We've seen just 3 hits in the first 2.5 innings today. And it'll be Patterson, Nomar Garciaparra, and Aramis Ramirez coming up. This is 28 starts for Aaron Harang. He's given the Reds 154 innings. The number of starts is good. The number of innings a little low, and that's been a consistent problem for the Reds this year. They've had to use their bullpen on average over 3 innings a game this year.
That'll always be a problem if your starters depart early because you just overuse that pen. It's a little easier, however, in September when you expand the rosters.
In the dirt, 2 balls and a strike to Cub center fielder Corey Patterson. Popped up out of play and over the roof. Count to leave it up at 2-2.
It's made a pretty good trade when they acquired Harang from Oakland. They got Harang along with Joe Valentine. We've seen him twice in this series, and Jeff Rukish in exchange for Jose Guillen, the man who's had all kinds of problems now with the Anaheim Angels. Has suspended for the regular of this season and postseason.
Hasn't stopped Anaheim though, as that ball popped down the left field line. That'll reach the seats. The Angels have won 5 straight. They're a game ahead of Oakland, which can't get a win from their starting rotation, Steve. And in what's turned out to be the rarest of occurrences, they've really stumbled in September. That's usually where Oakland puts the hammer down and runs away in the American League West.
They do realize, however, that they're going to close with Anaheim, and that's all you can ask head to head. So Anaheim leads by a game, but they're losing today.
That one very early down in Texas, 1-0. The Rangers have the lead. Texas picked a bad time to put up a 4-game losing streak. They've fallen 4 off the pace out west. Boston's already clinched the wild card at the very least in the American League. 3-2 pitch is popped up right side on the infield. Who wants it? It'll be Jimenez at second base. 2 pop-ups for Patterson. Has him 0 for 2 today. Nomar hit the ball hard, lined out to right. Austin Kearns made the play, however.
It could very well be, looking at this batting order, and I know that Derek Lee has struggled somewhat in recent games. It could be that he's tired because he's playing a whole lot. But when you split up Patterson and Lee, Patterson in the 1 spot, Lee hitting in the 7th spot, you have 2 different places in your lineup where you can actually steal a base. And if one of them gets on, they'll probably try to do that. But Patterson with 2 pop-ups, and Lee with his base hit with Sammy already aboard didn't have a chance because they walked Paul Bacco and retired Pryor to get out of the inning.
A little low, 1 ball, 1 strike. The Cubs have used so many different lineups and so many different players in so many different spots. I would venture a guess that Dusty is still trying to experiment with a group that's going to click. We've seen this Cub offense at times over the last 2.5 weeks really struggle to score runs without hitting home runs.
They don't hit a home run. They're 17 and 32, so quite obviously they like to see the ball go out of the ballpark. 1-run games, 19 and 28. Finessing teams has not been their long suit.
2 balls, 2 strikes for Nomar now as we battle on in the bottom of our 3rd inning.
But what the Cubs can do consistently, where other teams can't, is they can club them. They can outpitch them. They just don't out-finesse them too often.
Another pop-up. This time to the left side of the infield. Machado makes the play. And Harang changing speeds, getting a lot of soft fly balls early in the game. 2 outs.
A lot of these Reds are having trouble with pop-ups. I mean, it looks like they see the ball right till the end, but then struggle to make the play. So far they've made most of them, but none have looked easy.
Well, if it was Pittsburgh, I would understand it, because you hardly ever see the sun when you're playing a game in Pittsburgh.
They only had 8 rainouts this year.
That's deceiving.
That is somewhat deceiving. It's been a much wetter year for them.
Ramirez, a rare strikeout his first time up, and he has a big swing and is behind 0-1. Imagine a man for the Cubs with 35 home runs, 101 driven in, a .318 batting average, has struck out 61 times this year. He has had another great campaign. Another pop up back toward us. Brief chase by LaRue, but no shot at it. 0-2. And 2 strikes for the Cub third baseman. Fly ball to right, should be easy for Austin Kearns, and the pitcher's duel continues through 3. Mark Pryor and Aaron Harang are in a scoreless tie. Well, on our never-ending quest at pleasing our color analyst, our one and only 6-pack, indeed, whoopee. No score as D'Angelo Jimenez hits a mile-high fly ball to left center field. Patterson shields his eyes, and that's 1 pitch, 1 out here in the Reds' half of the 4th inning.
Well, Mark Pryor is striking out a lot of these Reds, and so the pitches will pile up if you do that. That's one of the reasons why you like a 1 pitch out.
And in the 4th inning, 1 out. Time for our Aflac trivia question.
It's not his Sean Casey 0 for 1 with a strikeout. It is, however, when was the last time the Cubs led the National League in homers hit and strikeouts thrown? Well, the Cubs are only the second team to, as a staff, tally 1,300 or more strikeouts in a single season. The Arizona Diamondbacks did it with Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. The Cubs have done it amazingly 4 consecutive years. Broken bat, roller hit towards second. On the third hop, Todd Walker makes the off-balance play for out number 2.
That bat just shattered in the hands of Sean Casey. He was not going to get too many infield hits. And Mark Pryor just has wonderful stuff here this afternoon.
1 earned run in his last 19 1/3 innings. Here's Adam Dunn. This could be the record setter. He struck out 189 times. I talked to him before the game in the Reds clubhouse. He said, bring it on. I want the record. I want it by plenty. He's an engaging man who hits a ton of home runs. And I wonder if he will be targeted by other major league teams in the offseason. With Kearns,
certainly a lot of people would love to have him, but I don't believe in a ballpark as lively as a Great American Ballpark that you can afford to trade away Adam Dunn.
One more and it's number 190.
Because that's never going to be a finesse park. That's going to be a park where you're going to have to out-homer the opposition, a lot like Coors Field.
The 1-2 pitch is right down the middle. 190 strikeouts. Adam, you wanted the record. Congratulations. You've got it. Any guesses on our Aflac trivia question answer? When's the last time the Cubs led the National League in homers and pitched strikeouts?
1908.
I'll say 98.
2002. We were close.
I was a lot.
You said 1898?
Yeah, exactly. Nice guess. Here's Alou. He didn't guess a breaking pitch over the outside corner, and he took a strike.
Once again, over 1,300 strikeouts, and once again hitting the ball consistently out of the park.
He lined out to third his first time up, and Harang misses low. Reds have beaten the Cubs 2 out of 3 in this series. As you see Harold Ramis, he'll be up for taking me out to the ball game shortly. That's over but low. Ball 2, 2 balls and a strike.
Well, twice he's fallen behind Alou, and for the second time, Moises has got to be guessing fastball middle in.
Got a fastball, but it was outside of the zone of happiness for Alou. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, Harang has thrown that fastball around 90, 91 miles an hour, so he's not a soft tosser by any stretch of the imagination, but he also isn't overpowering. Now they're going to try to go inside on him and see if they can get in there.
Count fills up now. 3-2. Field. Third come hit. And a good start for our 4th inning.
Well, with Sammy swinging the bat as well as he swung it, this should be the inning that the Cubs break through. 3-2. Harang went back to the well again. He went to the inside fastball. He didn't get it in. And Mo hit it to left field. So with Sammy and Todd Walker, Derek Lee coming up. See if the Cubs can push across at least one.
Sammy worked the count to his favor and singled up the middle in the second inning of play. And a good stop by LaRue to his right. 1 ball, no strikes. We have no score. We face the Reds for the final time this year today.
Orang has thrown 7 wild pitches. That's #1 on this team, so Moises best get a good secondary lead and hope LaRue doesn't throw behind him on a pickoff.
That one will bounce out of play over the roof. 1-1 now to Sosa. Just wonder if the Cubs are gassed. Their run totals the last 7 or 8 games, 3-3. We had a big 12-run outburst opening up against the Reds. 2 runs, 3 in 11 innings in New York, 2 in 10 innings, 1 run in Pittsburgh.
I don't think you get gassed this time of year with all the adrenaline flowing and the fact that you're in the wild card race with a chance to control your own destiny. Are you nicked up? Yes. You have some element of being tired, certainly, but they've played for a long time to get right here, and it's within sight.
There you go. He didn't. Ball 4. 2 on, nobody out for Todd Walker.
Sammy gets the appeal. He does not check his swing, and now Don Gullett comes out as Orang is digging himself into a hole that against Mark Pryor I don't think you can get out of. Pryor is throwing the ball exceptionally well. Cubs score a couple here and the Reds have big problems, and with 2 on, nobody out, figure it's a good time to put a crooked number on the board. Anaheim, by the way, has tied up Texas. It's been a pretty good series for those Angels.
Well, I think Mike Scioscia not only opened a lot of eyes around Major League Baseball with suspending Guillen, but he earned the respect of his players for telling Guillen, we don't tolerate that kind of behavior for the Anaheim Angels. Our team and our goals are bigger than any one man's personal agenda.
Well, I think there was another message sent also. He said that even if we don't get to the playoffs because we will no longer have you on this team this year, we won't tolerate your behavior ever here for substantial money. So this was an interesting scenario for them. If they look to trade him or whatever they decide to do, they owe him $3 million for next year. And we'll have to see how it plays out for Mike Scioscia and Bill Stoneman, who worked together on this one to send a very powerful message.
1 strike to Todd Walker, 2 on, nobody out. That's off the plate. It's even. That's 1-1. There've been some great surprises over the American League. The other one might be that Texas club, Buck Showalter, Oral Hershiser, the manager and pitching coach. I know you think a lot of their hitting coach, Rudy Jaramillo. Of course, John Hart, the general manager, has put together a terrific Texas offense and a pitching staff that keeps them in the games. Popped up. Drifting out at second base is D'Angelo Jimenez, and he'll make the play for out number 1. Walker can't advance. Alu and Sosa. Derek Lee will take his turn now.
Well, I'm kind of surprised. Normally, if an infielder can turn facing the infield and look in control of a pop-up, one of the umpires will put up their hand on the infield. Back to the infield. They won't call the infield fly rule, but what they did was open up the possibility of dropping the baseball and getting a relatively simple double play.
Derek Lee rolls that foul at third. Strike 1 to the Cubs first baseman, who singled back in the second inning. So alertly, Alu and Sosa waited for the resolution of the pop-up from Walker. And Jimenez caught it cleanly for the first out. It's even a ball and a strike.
Now you've got Bacco due up next, so an interesting decision. You're going to run on Dunn. Bragg has a decent arm in center field, but Kearns has the best arm in right. And that's where the base hit went last time Lee was up.
Took a shot that way again, but it's down to his last strike in the 4th inning.
Derek's been pulling off that slider low and away. It's a tough pitch to handle for just about any hitter, but sometimes you get in a pattern of opening the front shoulder and then you get no coverage out there. Let's see if Harang tries to go there.
Derek laid off. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
So good patience and a good stop by LaRue as he threw the breaking ball low and away. And he threw it just off the plate.
That's popped up right side. Another chance for Jimenez again. Well, now at first base, Joe West.
And that time Joe West raised his hand. The last time nobody did, so that was an infield fly rule.
So a single, a walk. Walker and Lee pop up to the second baseman. Runners still at first and second. Now it takes a Paul Bacco base hit perhaps to score Alou. Cubs didn't bunt in a bunt situation with Alou yesterday. They don't bunt here in the 4th inning, and to this point it's cost them a chance to score the first run. Anthony's inside corner for a strike.
Well, Bacco's been much better with runners on. Obviously, without runners on, the only way that you can drive in a run is to hit a home run. So it's 1-1. What an interesting stat nonetheless.
The 0-2 pitch to Paul Bacco. It's 1-2 now.
Well, they play Bacco in the infield as a pull hitter, which is somewhat surprising with Machado not paying attention to Alou. If you can shorten Alou's lead at second base, then you might have a shot on a base hit to right. But so far Machado is not paying any attention to Moises.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Frank got that pitch up there at 93 miles an hour.
That's the grip for his changeup, subject to change depending on what LaRue wants.
It's full now. Alou and Sosa, who don't run particularly well, will have the advantage of moving with the pitch.
Well, a similar situation back in the second. He walked Bacco and ended it with Pryor. If he doesn't want to pitch to Bacco, you throw him a curveball here. If he swings, he swings. If he doesn't,
you can't
put
stop
him on first base.
You just try to contain him. A 3-2 pitch. Runners go. And he does indeed walk Paul Bacco to load the bags.
Bacco working on that on base percentage, has been on twice. Ball is up a little above 275. And Mark Pryor with another chance to help himself offensively.
Well, it happened yesterday. Glendon Rush was the Cub offense. He hit a solo home run. Let's see if Pryor can make Harang pay for some 4th inning wildness.
Or Harang can throw one in the dirt.
That would work too. Strike 1.
The fans on their feet, they're screaming here in the 4th inning.
And in another 15 minutes or so, it is not going to be a lot of fun at the plate. The shadows creeping toward the batter's box. ball towards second. The flip to the bag isn't plenty of time to retire. Bacco comes load the bags for the second time and fails.
You're watching FSN.
Time for your Pontiac in-game update. Chris Bowden in the downtown newsroom. Dodgers outfielder Milton Bradley says he will not appeal his suspension while apologizing and saying he'll pursue anger management counseling. That in the wake of Tuesday's incident in L.A., which he confronted and yelled at fans after a plastic beer bottle was thrown at him. Dodgers kept their 3-game NL West lead on the Giants after both lost last night. Chip and Steve.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much. I would imagine that if the Dodgers make the postseason, Bradley will be back. And you're right, that was a real ugly incident in Los Angeles. Fans should never throw anything on the field, and certainly the players should never go back to the stands and throw the debris back into the stands as Milton Bradley did the other day.
I agree with both sentiments, and why do I not believe that anger management classes were optional?
Quite probably so. Well, there's no question Milton Bradley's a talented player. We haven't had a chance to travel with him or really get to talk to him at any length other than when the Cubs and Dodgers play. But he is a young man that has had some run-ins with other people, most notably his manager Eric Wedge while he was still a Cleveland Indian player this year. But Jim Tracy's a terrific manager, and he's got a new start. I hope he takes advantage of it.
Well, the fact that he has talent is not a debatable issue. The fact that he is combustible also was not debatable, and they can keep him under control. They've got themselves a very good player, and a lot of people look to the acquisition of Milton Bradley and how he fit into both the outfield and that lineup as one of the catalysts for Los Angeles, who leads by 3 games. So they're in the driver's seat.
They will take on the Giants this coming weekend. We have the great pleasure of watching the Cubs-Cardinal rivalry. You took part as a player with the Giants-Dodgers rivalry. What's that final weekend like when you wrap up a 3-game series in either park? Kearns is blown away. 9 strikeouts, by the way, for Pryor, who's given up 1 hit.
What's wonderful about that series is that if you're raised, as I was as a Giant, every farm club you have is in the same league with the Dodger farm club, whether it's rookie ball, low A, high A, double A, or triple A. Consequently, you start your fights in rookie ball and you fight with the same guys all the way up.
Do you keep the book from the rookie ball games?
No, I'm telling you, you see the same guys every level, and you play them so many times that you just have to get in some battles. And so when you see them on every step, you get to the point where you get very familiar, and the hatred starts to accumulate with every passing year. So it is very much like the Cubs and the Cardinals, although I don't think the Cubs and the Cardinals are together in every league at every stage. They were in those days with the Giants and Dodgers. Great rivalries, and certainly the history and the great players that passed through those rivalries are among the best ever in the game. In both of those rivalries, and you can also put Yankees and Red Sox in that same genre.
And the Devil Rays and Marlins are getting there.
Eventually they'll get there.
Slowly. 0-2 the count for Darren Bragg. Mark Pryor looking for his 15th double-digit strikeout game. We're only in the 5th inning, folks. He's been overpowering so far. Only the Kearns triple in the 2nd inning. The 1 hit he's allowed. And Bragg and LaRue both had chances to make some contact and put Cincinnati in front. They didn't.
Well, Bragg won't hit that curveball if he keeps it low and in. It's just Bragg hasn't been adjusting to anything spinning. And let's see what happens here.
Loop towards short. Easy play for Nomar. 10 straight hitters retired. It brings up LaRue with the bases empty. Well, it's official. The Expos are heading to Washington. They will play in RFK Stadium for at least the next 3 seasons. And apparently they're starting to make inroads as to satisfying Peter Angelos, the Orioles owner, as to how that National League franchise will impact the Orioles in Baltimore. There's talk of a regional cable sports network that baseball would help fund, as well as annual payments made for a predetermined amount of time to help bolster the Baltimore franchise. But I'm glad for the Expos that they finally have a home.
Also, a minimum valuation of his team is he ever wants to sell the team, which, when I say minimum, I mean it can't go below a value which is going to be considerably more than what he paid for it.
No balls and a strike to Machado. The big debate is, what are they going to name the team? They're not going to be the Washington, D.C. Expos.
I can understand that.
The funny part is that a lot of folks would like to see the name the Senators come back again. But the Texas Rangers own the rights to that name still.
And of course, the folks in the House then would be unhappy with that.
That's true. Call them the legislators.
There's a number of things you can call them. I'm sure to be determined at a later date.
I was going to say, but like the politicians, looking at the state of the Expo team, they'll be called a lot of the same names by the time the season's over next year. It's 0-2 to Machado. But I think it's a good move for baseball. It gets them into a very big market, an affluent market.
Well, it's the first half of a move, because the second half is to sell to an owner who can support that team financially and rejuvenate that organization.
There's a strikeout. It's 10 for Pryor, 15 double-digit strikeouts in his young career, and he is in a scoreless game. Back with Steve Stone, Chip Carey at Wrigley Field. The Cincinnati Reds pitching staff, Stoney, so far matching the Cubs goose egg for goose egg in the final time we meet this year.
Well, you have to see Mark Pryor today to realize that this is the Mark Pryor that won 18 last year and helped take the Cubs into the playoffs. If Mark Pryor stays right here, he's going to be a force if the Cubs do get into postseason, because everything is working for him. And right now you have to figure he has the advantage over Aaron Harang, who's bent, but he hasn't broken.
Cubs have loaded the bases twice, haven't been able to push over the first run of the game. Pryor's held the Reds, as you said, to just 2 hits, and now the top of the order goes back to work against the big Cincinnati right-handed pitcher. Just 5 hits so far in the afternoon. Patterson has popped out twice. No sign of a bunt. Big swing and a miss, though. 0-1 to Corey. Hard hit ball. Casey, though. Johnny on the spot makes the play. And a rough start for Matthew Stofko of Plainfield, Illinois. Matthew is our Toyota fan of the game. The Cubs score in the 5th. Not only will the Cubs have a lead, but Matthew will win a Fox Sports Net Toyota prize package, including a hat and a t-shirt.
Well, it looks a lot like Mark Clausen.
Nah, he's not going that good. 1 ball, no strikes.
He's usually surrounded by a couple of cheeseburgers, but he's going pretty well today.
One ball, 1 strike. One pitch. Hard hit ball to third base. Lopez to his left. And there's out number 2. Harang's had no problem with the first 3 Cub hitters. It's from Alou on down that's made things an adventure for him.
And twice he's loaded the bases, and twice they've been with walks to Baco, and he's been able to get out twice, retiring Mark Pryor. So that's why Harang is 1 out away from getting through the 5th in a scoreless game. That has a lot more meaning for the Cubs than it does for the Reds, but the Reds are battling.
And you said something in the pregame show that I agree with. Credit Dave Miley and his staff. They don't have a fully manned team, but the players he's playing are the best he has. He's managed the game straight. He's gone out and he's trying to win as many of them as he can.
And you play your number 1 lineup, and you play it to the best of your ability. And for the also-ran team to come into a ballpark, a full house of fans that get very excited, this for them leads to a lot of excitement on their part, because this is what they have left of the season.
Ground ball again. Cubs trying to pull everything. It's 3 up, 3 down after 5. No score here at a very quiet and concerned Wrigley Field. The 20th annual Cubs convention will take place at the Hilton Chicago the weekend of January 21st through the 23rd. And already hotel rooms for the Cubs convention weekend are completely sold out. However, weekend passes are $50. They'll go on sale Monday, November 8th at 10 a.m. For more information, call 773-404-CUBS or visit Cubs.com. Harang, Lopez, and Jimenez for Cincinnati. Mark Pryor with a double-digit strikeout game already adds to the total. That's 11 now on the day. Back to the top against Felipe Lopez, whom he's punched out twice.
He's fanned Lopez twice, Dunn twice, and Machado twice.
And you're right about Mr. Clausen. Doesn't have the hamburgers, but I think he's got the buns taken care of.
Can't hear. Something wrong with my earpiece.
Wouldn't be the first time. There's a strike.
Only man he has yet to fan at least once is D'Angelo Jimenez, and he's in the on-deck circle.
Well, you mentioned Mark Pryor and the playoffs. We're all very optimistic that this team can still get there.
That's my middle name, you know.
But there's among many. But even if the Cubs don't, having Mark Pryor throw the baseball the way he has these last 3 starts of the season, I'm sure for Cubs fans everywhere, for the organization, and even more importantly for Mark Pryor himself, this has to feel like a gigantic weight has been lifted on his shoulders, because he'd be the first to tell you he has not been Mark Pryor this year. For the first time, he's not been 100%.
Well, you and I talked about it, and I told you about 4 starts ago, the first couple of innings was the first sign that I had seen that it was the Mark Pryor that we remember from last year. And the stuff he's thrown here today is vintage Pryor. Now, he's in the infancy stages of what's going to be just a spectacular career, but this stuff that he's throwing is magnificent. And this is 20-game stuff. I mean, when pitchers consistently win 20, they throw like Mark Pryor is this afternoon. They have to have their teammates score a couple of runs to do that, but Mark Pryor has been close to untouchable.
He struck out 12 men, and at least 1 in every inning so far. So he's had.
Would you turn around? Don Graham is behind you, and this is our last Fox game. I'd just like to know where he got those boots.
Those are new ones,
Could you ask
man.
him? Yes.
Those are last game of the year boots.
Yeah, I'd love to give you the boot, and those look like the kind of boots that, you know, you would look good in.
Again, you're not the only one. 3 balls, no strikes to D'Angelo Jimenez. Well, we've certainly enjoyed our association with Fox Sports Net. I know Don would like to thank all of the Cubs fans, the Chicago Cubs organization, Andy McPhail, Jim Henry, John McDonough for all of their cooperation. And we too would like to pass along those same sentiments to Don, the Fox Sports staff, as we move over to Comcast next year. And
I mean, look, it's been 7 years, and quite obviously, like most new enterprises in a new market, you go through your growing pains. I felt this year was probably the best year that we had, and unfortunately, this will be our final broadcast under these conditions.
Pryor strikes out the side. 13 punch outs today. Scoreless game as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning, and here's again where it gets interesting for Aaron Harang. He has not had an easy time with Moises Alou and the rest of the Cub batting order from this spot in the order down.
If he continues to miss with that fastball inside, he's not going to have an easy time with Alou, certainly, and Sosa specifically. So he doesn't throw hard enough to get consistently inside on either of these guys, and they're both swinging the bat very well.
1 ball, no strikes, the count for Moises Alou. And he pulls the ball toward third. Lopez stays down, throws across in plenty of time. 1 man up, 1 man down. Saturday, November 20th, Kerry Wood and his lovely wife Sarah will be hosting Kerry Wood's Strike Zone, a celebrity charity bowling event. Celebrities scheduled to attend include Mark Pryor, Matt Clement, John Lieber, Roy Halladay, Mark Grace, and many more. Well, I'm glad to see they didn't invite just pitchers. For more information, call 773-880-6868. A strike to Sammy, who's reached twice. He's singled, he's walked.
Let's see if Harang can hang one. You're not going to hang it down there. He threw it in the dirt. He threw it by LaRue.
That was low even to Eddie Goodell.
And Texas has just made it a little tougher on Anaheim, putting a 4 spot up in the 5th.
Seattle's in Oakland today. Ichiro entered play today, needing just 2 hits to tie George Sisler. He has 255 base hits this year. High fly ball belted left field. Sammy Sosa has put the Cubs on the board. Number 573 ties him with Harmon Killebrew for 8th all-time. And finally, the Cubs break through.
And we told you over the last 2 days, nobody on this Cub team has swung the bat better than Sammy Sosa. And Aaron Harang does not throw hard enough to get it by these guys middle in, and Sammy just crushed it. 34-79 on the power numbers. He's 2 for 2 with a walk. There's a fastball. It was just above the belt, right down the middle, and Sammy just crushed it.
So 34 home runs for Sosa. Cubs have a lead behind Mark Pryor, and frankly speaking, the way Mark is pitching today, 1 might as well be 10 for Cincinnati right now. Let's see if Walker can add to the total. He tried to and popped it straight up. Shallow right center field. Bragg comes on. And in center field, Darren Bragg makes the play for out number 2.
Cubs now hit 229 home runs. They have yielded only 161. That's a pretty good disparity. And this red team has thrown 232 home runs.
That's a bad combination. When your offense strikes out a lot and your pitchers give up a billion home runs, you're not going to win many games. Line drive to left. Adam Dunn tracks it down off the bat of Derek Lee. A milestone homer for Sosa. Ties him for 8th all time with 573. And the Cubs finally have a lead after 6. Stoney, our game summary. An amazing performance from Mark Pryor today.
He's fanned him every different section of the plate with every type of pitch, and Sammy Sosa has provided the offense. That's been it. The game stands at 1-0. It's our 4-game summary as Pryor continues to roll along, and the Cubs are hoping to add to that lead. Not much difference between these two guys, except one has been overpowering and the other has been able to keep his team in the game.
Casey trying to pull the hands in, pops it left side. Ramirez in the shadows now, has a play. 1 man down. Casey 0 for 3. Here's Adam Dunn. Last at bat, he set the Major League single season strikeout record of 190 of them this season. Pryor's career strikeout high is 16. He did that June 26th last year against the Brewers. Ball too low. A Sosa homer accounts for all of the Cub offense. When they hit a homer, usually the Cubs win. couldn't pull the trigger. Two and two.
Getting psyched up for Harold Ramis.
Absolutely.
You like stripes?
Great.
How about Ghostbusters?
Terrific, especially the kids. They loved it. They love Ghostbusters. In fact, when they see Bill Murray, they say, "Hey, Dad, Ghostbusters on TV." The 2-2. He went around 191 and counted. Dunn told me before the game, he said, "I want the record in a big way." He can't wait to swing the bat again.
Well, he's facing the wrong guy today. Mark Pryor has just had enchanted stuff from the first inning on. And we told you the key would be if he could fan Sean Casey that first time up. He did it with just a great curveball, and he's just continued to roll right along. Pryor's stuff has been overwhelming.
He's got a shot at 21 strikeouts if he can punch him out the rest of the way. That's inside Austin Kearns. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, Harold is not going to have to wait too long for this particular 7th inning, because I think Mark Pryor is going to make short work of this inning.
1 ball, 1 strike. Kearns tripled against Mark back in the 2nd.
Hasn't been too many blips on the radar screen. That triple and a base hit by LaRue, and that's been it.
You think he's going to break into do run like he did in
I'm not looking at that at this point.
I hope you're right. 2 balls, 1 strike. Swing and a drive. That's trouble if it's fair. It is fair and gone. That man does it again.
I think it either hit the pole or hit the screen. And Kearns has tied it up. That's just his 9th 32nd driven in. But an injury-plagued season, he's seeking redemption in this series. He hugged the line all the way, and it does indeed, on what looked like a hanging breaking ball, hit the pole. Watch it again. You'll see the screen just kind of shudder. It's a home run, folks.
So Kearns with 2 in as many days, and Cincinnati has tied it up. 1-1 in the 7th. That'll bring up Bragg. He has struck out. He has lined out. Seeing as how Harold is our guest and all, we will not blame that home run on him.
I think we should, though. Sometimes you just can't step through that door, Chippy boy. You wait back and see how it plays itself out.
I say you're on the tee box, Mr. Stone. 0-2 the count to Darren Bragg. And that's over the inside corner. 15 strikeouts for Mark Pryor. Our game tied 1-1. Let's welcome back home Harold Ramis for Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Harold Ramis. Let's get the lead back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back. So it's root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's get 'em.
Well, I feel their pain escaping Hurricane Gene. And we're glad that the fans of the Cubs from the Sunshine State are with us this afternoon. They've seen a very well-pitched game. It's a 1-1 score now, heading to the last of the 7th inning with Baco, the pitcher's spot, and Corey Patterson-Dew. As we welcome back Harold Ramis to Wrigley Field.
Thanks.
Nice job of singing.
Oh, yeah. well, I'm a professional.
There's no question. I mean, come on. What's new?
Well, I'm finishing a movie called The Ice Harvest. Oh, let's see what happens.
Fly ball to left. Dunn's going to catch that. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Yeah. John Cusack, Billy Bob Thornton, Oliver Platt should come out in March, I think.
And it's about?
It's a very dark and bloody story of larceny and betrayal.
Like, it's kind of a departure, is it not?
Yeah. It's about like politics.
Yes, I guess you could. That's a nice way of saying it. That's true.
No, it's got funny. It's got humor in it, but it's pretty dark. It's like a Coen Brothers movie.
We've had John Cusack in our booth a number of times, and as you know, John is an insane Cubs fan.
Yeah, he is.
He's got to be biting his fingernails to the cuticle watching these games these past couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. You know, there's a big Chicago contingent in Hollywood, and they stay loyal. They really do.
Mark Pryor hits for himself, and he takes the ball outside.
Harold, what is it about Second City here in Chicago that you guys get so good at what you do that you go on and you inhabit basically the comedy ranks nationally for seemingly forever?
It's like comedy college. You know, it's a great place to learn how to do it, get up in front of an audience 6 nights a week. You cram a lot of experience into a pretty short time. That's pretty much what it is.
Is that where you learned also how to write as well as act?
Yeah, you know, you do it all there. Everyone's kind of their own director, their own writer, and you really learn to work a scene with people. So it's the Chicago actors who came out of Second City are very cooperative. They know stand-ups tend to be selfish, but Second City actors are very generous, and they stick together. It's a good thing.
Well, now if you have your choice, and you do because you've been so successful as a writer, a director, or an actor, what would be your favorite, or would you like to do them all forever?
I want to cut an album in November. I like singing too, but yeah, directing's great. It's really challenging, and you got to use everything you know.
Pryor is down on strikes. That's 2 outs in the 7th inning. Now, Bill Zemi, our dear friend, just came out with a book. It's called Hugh Hefner's Black Book. We all know that behind the scenes, you're the man that made the Playboy Empire what it is today.
That's right.
Are you upset that there has not yet been a biography of your great career with Hefner?
Well, Hef and I don't talk anymore. I worked there a couple of years in 68 to 70. I've become friends with Christy Hefner since moving back. She's a great woman and very smart. But I haven't seen Hef in many years.
Send him some pajamas or something.
Yeah,
maybe that would be the icebreaker.
He needs some pajamas.
2 outs, bases empty for Corey Patterson. He's 0 for 3 on the day. What a ball game.
Yeah.
Real well pitched, and 2 home runs today. Ground ball towards second. Jimenez off balance throw, and that'll take care of the Cubs in the 7th. Harold, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome back home, and good luck with Ice Harvest.
Thanks.
Can't wait to see that in 2005.
Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Cadillac, bold vehicles defying convention. Robert Morris, Rio College for the real world. And by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world.
Here's a look at our remaining schedule as my partner breaks out into song with a tie game after 7. The Braves are on their way to Chicago. We'll face them tomorrow. Kerry Wood and Mike Hampton, John Thompson, Carlos Zambrano on Big Fox, and Greg Maddux pitching the finale of the regular season in what very well could be the make or break game for the Cubs and their quest to get into the postseason in back-to-back years for the first time since 1907 and 1908.
Lorang probably figures to be done. Now, right now, you can still have pretty decent visibility around the plate, but you're figuring within an inning that will go away. John Riedling loosening up. Lorang is due up third. You figure after 7 he would be taken down.
Mark Pryor has 16 strikeouts. That equals his career high. Now, if he goes the 8th and 9th and strikes everybody out, he can get to 21.
I'll tell you, the one thing I've learned is never argue math with a Georgia grad. High fastball, he throws it right by LaRue, who has one of the 3 Reds hits.
Machado takes a strike. Hey man, they teach us right at Georgia. Take off your shoes, start with the toes, and move to the fingers, and you'll figure it out. Machado tries to bunt. Ramirez with a bare hand play. Sniff that one out. Excellent effort. Mark Pryor gives him the nice job sign. 2 outs.
Well, Machado tried it early in the game, and Ramirez was ready for it. He barehands it, and he's got him by plenty. Machado can run, but he's got no chance. You very rarely see a guy barehand the ball and throw a guy out by 4 steps. When you took a look at Lee, Machado wasn't even in your picture. So now we're going to see a pinch hitter. And it's Jacob Cruz, who's been a very busy man. That'll bring Larry Rothschild out for nothing more than to remind him how they want to pitch to Cruz. He's had 14 pinch hits in 52 appearances. He's also hit 1 home run and driven in 8. So with 2 out, nobody on, Cruz will hit for the pitcher, Harang.
Harang went 7 innings today. 3 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and the 1 run he allowed was the Sammy Sosa 6th inning home run. 106 pitches for Aaron Harang today.
Pretty good outing for Harang.
Absolutely.
Made the 1 mistake to Sammy, and that was about it.
Cruz jumps on the first pitch, hits a slow roller to second, and it's a very easy 8th inning for Mark Pryor. 1-1 is your score, with Nomar set to lead things off.
Time for the Cadillac in-game update. Chris Bowden in the downtown news. Let's check the AL West scoreboard as Anaheim took a 1-game lead over Oakland in today's action. Both involved in matinees. The Angels trailing Texas 6-3 in the 7th despite 2 home runs from Vlad Guerrero. Seattle's taken a 1-0 lead on Oakland. Ichiro with his 256th hit. Chip and Steve.
Well, what a game we have seen today. 1-1 as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Cubs finally are able to get Harang out of the game. And now they will face right-hander John Riedling, one of many very busy and very battered Cincinnati Reds relief pitchers.
Well, he's on for the 69th time. The ERA up over 5. Riedling was the winner in the game yesterday. And Cubs certainly hoping that history does not repeat itself. And you've probably got 1 more half inning of good visibility around the plate. That makes it essential that the Cubs score right here. You go right through the middle of the order. Garcia, Parra, Ramirez, Alou, and if anybody gets on, Sosa against John Riedling.
Nomar, an 8-game hit streak on the line, perhaps in this at-bat, and he takes a strike call. If it does go to the Cubs in front here, and we hope it does, Dusty earlier today said LaTroy Hawkins is his closer.
And he should be his closer. This is a man that they gave the ball to when Joe Borowski went down. Has it been the greatest year? No, it hasn't. Has it been a good year? Yes. And LaTroy Hawkins still should close games for the Cubs. There's not many left, and you don't audition people when you've got 4 games left in the year.
Slow roller hit to the left side. Lopez stays down, throws a strike. 1 out. Lopez had a good game over at third base, and of all the infielders, he's had the shakiest year with the glove, but he is a man that can play several infield positions.
And it's really not shaky with the glove per se. It usually is on throws if it's going to happen at all to him. He's had a pretty good glove. Footwork has been somewhat of a mystery to him at times. Now, he got the footwork down at shortstop, but they're asking him to play third because Ryan Friel went down, and so they've had to really mix and match. And the Cubs caught them at the right time without Willie Mo Pena and without Danny Graves, but the Reds are hanging tough.
It's all right-handed until you get to Todd Walker. That's why Riedling's in the game here. And you see those shadows at home plate, moment by moment, creeping out toward the mound and making it awfully tough for the hitter to see.
Well, that's why I say about it, this half inning of visibility. Right now, the hitter still with some sun. As long as that's the case, you'll see everything. When the shadows get about 4 or 5 feet in front of the plate, that's when you start to lose the spin on the breaking ball. And that's when they should turn on the lights. Yesterday, they might have been a touch late doing that.
2 balls, no strikes. Well, like the roof at a retractable dome, are you allowed to turn the lights on in the middle of an inning, or do you have to wait for its conclusion?
Probably umpire's decision.
3 balls, no strikes. You know he's got the green light here in the 8th inning. A 1-1 game. And he takes ball 4. That'll bring up Alou. Moises has pulled the ball 3 times today.
Don Gullett comes out once again. He wants to talk with Riedling, so with nobody up in the pen, he just wants to go over a game plan, undoubtedly reminding him that Moises has been a first ball fastball hitter since he left the cradle. At first and third in the 12th inning last night with nobody out. Mo grounded into his 12th double play of the year. That proved costly as the Cubs lost by a run. But if they use the luxury of having Machado play up the middle, looking for 2, which is at least the way the defense is now, there's a lot of room between Lopez and Machado on the left side to drill the ball through. Also, Lopez is a couple of steps off the line, which is somewhat surprising, seeing as Moises is a dead pull hitter.
Gabe White's up in case the order gets down to Todd Walker here in the home half of the 8th inning. And Riedling misses with the ball low. 1 ball, no strikes.
We saw Gabe White in the game yesterday afternoon. He pitched an inning. They used 6 relievers for Dave Miley's Reds.
Given the Cubs trouble this year. Cubs are 9-7 against Cincinnati this season. 8-11 against the Cardinals, 13-5 over Pittsburgh, 10-7 against Milwaukee, 10-9 against Houston. And the Cubs enter play 50-39 within the Central Division this season. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pitch. First chance for Alou to grumble today. 1-2 now.
Some hitters, as they set up, if a pitcher is close to getting ready to stretch, will take a look and see if he can see the catcher in his peripheral vision. If he can, he knows the pitch is away. Let's see if Moises just takes a peek back. Sometimes the hitter will, sometimes he won't. That time Moises is just looking out at Riedling.
Is that fair game for a hitter?
A hitter can certainly do anything he wants. Obviously, if a pitcher sees him doing that, he doesn't like it very much. However, you can't see the catcher unless he sets up outside. Then you can look actually at the first base coach and notice the catcher in your field of vision. You pretty much know he's set up away. You might not know the pitch that's coming, but you'll know the location.
1-2. Is that one reason why catchers try to set up so late?
Especially with a man at second base. They'll stay in the middle and then they'll just ease to where they want to, so a guy out at second can't give location. And same thing with coaches. Right-hand pitcher to a right-hand hitter, if a catcher sets up inside early, you pretty much know it's a fastball, and a first base coach can whistle or do something else to let him know that the ball's going inside. This one's staying away.
2-2. Fly ball, center field. Bragg on a line. Comes in, makes the sliding catch for out number 2. And we'll bring up Sosa, who's had the best at bats today.
Moises hit that ball hard. And that sinking line drive for a moment looked like it was going to fall, but Bragg made a good play. In the 6th inning, Aaron Harang made one big mistake, and it turned into the 34th home run of the year for Sammy Sosa. 4 Cubs have 30 or more home runs. Only the 10th time it's ever happened in the history of this game.
Ichiro has a base hit today, by the way, so he's 1 away from tying George Sisler. Mariners are playing in Oakland and lead them 1-0. Boy, Oakland is having all kinds of problems this month. A precipitous fall from grace, as our crew might say.
They'll be fine, don't worry. Billy Ball will bail them out.
1-0 count. Ball 2 to Sosa here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Rich Harden is one of the guys that they would talk about the big 3 of Zito and Mulder and Hudson. It's been Rich Harden who's had the best second half of the year, and he's a 4th. of what's become the Four Horsemen.
What's up with Mulder and Hudson in September?
Mulder's back's been bothering him a touch. And as far as Hudson, he's thrown some pretty good games, so I'm not exactly sure. Earlier, Zito had some problems. But that's another one of those teams that you would just hate to face in the postseason because they've got 4 of the real good young pitchers in baseball. However, if Mulder is having some problems and they run into the Yankees, who are more susceptible to the left-handers, then got a problem.
Popped up. Sammy got under it into straightaway center. Now Bragg yesterday had some trouble in center pasture. No trouble in the 8th inning. A very high sky and a very high fly is caught. It's a 1-1 game heading to the 9th. Cubs fans are invited to the Magical Gatherings Vacation, brought to you by AAA Travel. Join Cubs greats and the cast of the Walt Disney World Resorts December 2nd through the 6th. Contact AAA Travel at 866-4AAA Cubs and purchase your Walt Disney World Magical Gatherings Vacation package with the Cubs.
It's the top of the order, and the top has done absolutely nothing. Austin Kearns has a triple and homer, but he hits 5th. Those Lopez, Jimenez, Casey, if anybody gets on, done.
He has struck out 16 men. He's gone 8 innings, and he's thrown 101 pitches.
Pretty economical when you consider how many strikeouts he has today.
One ball, 2 strikes.
Well, I'm thinking a good hard breaking ball here retires Lopez. However, Lopez has been swinging at just about every high fastball. And he's going for the golden sombrero.
Missed inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Lopez is 1 for 18 in the series. He's had a pretty good run of it defensively. Count fills up at 3-2.
This is a guy that can occasionally surprise you with his power. He doesn't show it a lot, but he's fairly strong.
Slicing out of play, foul, and every time the bat leaves the baseball, you're seeing the outfielders on both teams really struggle to pick up the baseball. And with the top of the 9th upon us, the lights indeed are on. So the Cubs waited until the Reds came up. Payoff pitch. He lost him. A leadoff walk in the 9th inning. First time Mark has issued a pass today. Here's D'Angelo Jimenez.
1-1 game, leadoff walks, not a good sign late. Pryor's had such magnificent stuff. They've got a world of options. The hit and run is one of them. Jimenez, a much better hitter from the left side, but he has grounded into 15 double plays. He's also a bunter.
That's what he does, and he deadens it beautifully. Only 1 play, and it is to first. Close play. Jimenez sacrifices Lopez to second, and now Casey and Dunn are coming up.
Paul Bacco goes out now. They're going to use a different set of signs. This is the first time that any of these Reds have gotten to second base. Kearns had a triple and a homer. He didn't stop at second, and the base hit by LaRue found him stranded at first. Now they've got a guy with pretty good speed in Lopez out at second base. The bullpen up and going for the first time. Looks like Ryan Dempster.
Reds pen gets busy again, and the first pitch down in their bullpen almost picked off Corky Miller, who's warming up. I think Valentine. Here's Sean Casey. Ground ball's going to get the man to third. There's out number 2. And you don't mind facing Adam Dunn. Pryor struck him out 3 times today.
And there's a real big break because Sean Casey, normally a tough out. You know you're not going to strike him out too often, and he hasn't had the ball out of the infield. So he seemed a little over anxious against Mark Pryor. He's handled Dunn exceptionally well. Just like a big heavyweight puncher. You can contain him. He only needs one punch.
Out of play for a strike. A left-handed slugger with that classic uppercut swing. And he would hit home runs in any ballpark in any era at any time.
He is, however, 1 for 8 lifetime against Pryor.
He laid off that pitch. It's even 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, you can't walk him here because the man behind him has been the man that's done the damage, and that's Austin Kearns. Get him out here, you got a pretty decent chance of making sure that you don't see Kearns again until next year.
Off his thumbs and out of play. He's got him set up for his career high 17th strikeout. And now the crowd of 38,000 plus wants Pryor to end the top of the 9th with a flourish.
Then you'll have Walker, Lee, and probably a pinch hitter for Paul Bacco to try to score a run that will give the Cubs the win.
Ground ball up the middle. Walker off balance throw. Low. Lee scooped it out and got it. A bang bang play retires Adam Dunn, and the Cubs survive the top of the 9th inning. Our producer of Cubs baseball on Fox Sports Net is Bob Albrecht. Today's game directed by Dave Turner. Our associate producer is Joe Corneo. Christine Charbonneau, our stage manager. Our production manager, Moheen Ramsey. The executive producer is Josh Wine. And our vice president of programming is Don Graham. Thanks so very much to all of those fine folks, as well as to the rest of our Fox Sports Net Chicago crew. Again, this our finale of Cubs baseball on Fox here in 2004 and beyond. Mark Grudzielanek will pinch hit leading off the 9th inning as you look at Gabe White.
He's on for the 40th time, and the ERA is up there, but he pitched a 1-2-3 9th in yesterday's game, and the Cubs look to end it. And if they do indeed go to the playoffs, you might want to remember the play of Todd Walker and Derek Lee that ended that 9th inning. Because but for a play where Garciaparra just got out of the way of a throw, the Reds would have a 2-1 lead. This was just a tremendous play. Garciaparra has to get down, and Derek Lee scoops it out with Joe West on the call. Adam Dunn by a half step at first base, and that kept the game tied at 1. The reaction by Mark Pryor, who threw a gem today, deserves to win this one if the Cubs can score just 1 lone run late. Pryor and the Cubs pumped up. That was just a great play on both ends.
If you had to take a video snapshot of the Lee year defensively and what he has meant to this Cub infield, that's the signature play of Derek Lee. A long hop in a game-saving situation. He handled it beautifully.
Well, there's a lot of folks that make plays early. Folks make them in the middle. But with the game on the line, Derek Lee's the man you want to handle the baseball. And he handled that perfectly.
2-2 the count to Mark Grudzielanek. He shoots a ball into shallow right. That's going to be caught by Kearns. 1 man down for Derek Lee. He'll get a big cheer after that great top of the 9th inning ending play. Derek Lee's 1 for 3 today.
That one hit to right field, and you'd figure that White would try to stay away from it. Be appropriate after the defensive heroics if he could do something to help end it.
A strike from Gabe White, who did not enjoy his time in Gotham.
Well, that's 2 of us. Only he was scored on more.
Nothing in 2.
You like that curveball? Dropped it over the outside corner.
Frankly, I never saw it. Neither did Derek. The pitch is way outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Derek just 1 for 9 against White.
High pop up right side. The wind's going to play tricks with this. Casey in foul ground. Makes an easy put out. 2 men down. Paul Bacco is scheduled. He will be called back. Michael Barrett will swing the stick. And let's see if that forces the hand of Dave Miley, who's got the right-hander ready in his bullpen.
Well, there's Dave Miley. Now he can go to the right-hander because you're going to leave Michael Barrett in the game. You pretty much know that. And lifetime, Michael Barrett is hitting .500 with 2 doubles against Gabe White. So Dave Miley is taking a gamble here.
So Pryor taken down. Let's see if Barrett can do something. He jumps at the first pitch. Machado, a 360 spin off a 1-hop rocket. And we've got extra innings again with the Cincinnati Reds. Well, there's a look at David Knickerbocker and Joe Rios, and we'll pan to the right and show you the rest of the fine Chicago Cubs broadcasting and marketing department. Jay Blunk and John McDonough, the 2 men you see on your screen now, they have been so instrumental in making Wrigley Field such a magical place to work, to visit, and watch a ball game.
We really like to think of them as the Abbott and Costello of the marketing department. John McDonough on the right, probably the single best marketing guru in all of professional sports if you judge percent of occupancy on a yearly basis, because this year has been just unbelievable. Jay Blunk, his right-hand man, and they've done just a spectacular job. So Ryan Dempster has to come in. Mark Pryor did everything but win. He went 9. He gave up a run. He only gave up 3 hits, walked just 1, and fanned 16 in what for him was just about as good as it gets.
Oh, he was just magnificent. And let's see how Ryan Dempster fares against the man who single-handedly won the game for the Reds yesterday and has kept them alive again today, Austin Kearns. We've talked a lot about the growing process of what it takes to be an 8th inning or 9th inning, or in this case 10th inning man in the major leagues. Ryan Dempster's making a very difficult transition from a starter to a late inning man in Major League Baseball.
He had never thrown as many as 2 days in a row, and one time this year he threw 3 in a row. It's not an easy task, but he's got good stuff.
And more than anything else, he is not afraid to take the ball.
Well, that looked like strike 3, but he didn't get the benefit of call from Darryl Cousins, so he'll have to make another tough pitch. Look where Barrett wants it. Just barely off the corner. And give some credit to Kearns because he showed patience.
Well, we know he's a good 2-strike hitter. We've seen enough of that in this series.
He's never had a hit against Ryan Dempster. That was the lone mistake Mark Pryor made, and you can see him on the mound. He just dropped his head. He's hoping the ball goes foul. It didn't. Normally you would be allowed 1 mistake in a game, but today it cost him a tie. But he served notice. He's ready to go. Cubs get into postseason. Pryor's on top of his game.
And 2 straight no decisions for him. 2 balls, 2 strikes. But Pryor has given up 2 earned runs in 24 2/3 innings over those last 3. Kearns, Bragg, and LaRue are scheduled against Dempster. He's going to work just 1 inning, it would figure. His spot's due up first in the bottom of the 10th. Rolled out of play, 2-2.
Well, for me, Mark Pryor served notice on the 10th of September against Florida, where he went 8, gave up 9 hits, 2 earned runs, didn't walk anybody, that he was back. He had a little blip on the radar screen next time out against Pittsburgh, but then against Florida, the Mets, and today Cincinnati, 4 of 5 starts he's been letter perfect.
Dempster retires Kearns. The Reds have struck out 17 times today, 1 away.
This is where he wanted to get him with that 1-2 pitch. Instead, he took a little longer and got him anyway. Good spot for Dempster.
Here's Darren Bragg. He's 0 for 3 and 2 for 16 in the series.
Ramirez is right on the line, and even with the bag at third, he wants to make sure that if Bragg slices it, it's not going to get between him and the bag. You can live with a single, but not a double.
Upstairs, Texas beats Anaheim 6-3. So Oakland knows that. They're in a 1-1 game at home to Seattle. And that race figures to go down to the final day of the year. Back to the screen for Bragg. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Boston's locked up the wild card. Even up 2-2. Later on tonight, Giants are in San Diego. Jerome Williams against Adam Eaton. Giants have lost 4 of 6, just as have the Cubs. Milwaukee is in St. Louis. Matt Morris making his final regular season start for the Cardinals. He's been great at Busch Stadium. Not too good on the road. I figure he'll start game 1 or 2 for the Cardinals in their postseason run. 2 outs for Jason LaRue. The Astros open up their series with the Rockies tomorrow, and Houston has a gigantic streak. They've won 15 straight at home.
Well, yesterday in the ball game, Jason LaRue, with the bases loaded, faced Ryan Dempster, and Dempster struck him out. But he is 2 for 4 with a home run lifetime against Dempster.
14 in total this season. LaRue looks at a ball low. 1 ball, no strikes. Don't forget, after our game, we'll have a full recap of our wrap up with the Reds. Dave Otto will provide analysis on the Cubs post-game show here as we wrap things up for the Fox Chicago portion of our telecast schedule. 1-0 pitch, and LaRue dunking out of the way.
Well, this is where, if you're Jason LaRue, you're thinking about hitting a home run. 2 outs, nobody on. You know you have probably the most power of anybody who's going to come up for a while, and you're ahead 2-0.
He did muscle up, and he's going to bloop it into left field. No chance for Alou to get there. And Jason LaRue is aboard, and it'll bring up Anderson Machado. He's a switch hitter who does almost all of his hitting from the left side. Will Dusty Baker?
Well, you got to have a pinch runner. It's going to be Ryan Friel.
Will Dusty Baker take down Dempster? Friel broke his thumb trying to bunt in this series. He has not been disabled. The only thing he can do is run. He's one of their best base stealers.
If you leave Dempster in the game, then you're setting up a stolen base on Friel. If you bring in Remlinger, then you might be able to control Friel. And I think Michael Barrett's going out there to talk with Dempster. I think they want Remlinger to take a few more warm-up tosses. I think Dusty's got to go get him. Even though Machado is and has been not much of a factor here today, you certainly want to control Friel.
It was 36 for 46 in stolen bases. So let's see how the Cubs play it here. No sign of Remlinger coming into the game. Runner at first, 2 outs. Friel was leaning, and he gets back safely.
We'll see if Larry Rothschild wants a pitch out on the first pitch.
Big gap in right center field for Machado. Friel again twitching and is sent scrambling back. Real close play, and Joe West had a great look at it.
For Dave Miley, he knows that Machado's not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and he pretty much knows he's not going to hit one to the wall. So I got to believe that somewhere along the line he's got to run first or second pitch with Friel. Get him thrown out, so be it, but you got to get him in a scoring position.
We're in the 10th, a 1-1 game with the Cincinnati Reds. Not going. Somewhat surprisingly, a ball high. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, Dempster used a slide step, so he rushed to get the ball to Barrett, and Michael Barrett taking a long look over at Larry Rothschild.
Michael has thrown out 19 of 88 would-be base stealers this year. 1-0. Big lead at first. He's going. Pitch is high. The throw is even higher and into center field. But Friel cannot advance another 90 feet.
I mean, you know he's going. And the right-hander in the game guaranteed he'd probably be at second, and he was there. Now it just takes a base hit to score him. Friel gets a tremendous jump. It's not a great throw, but he is there.
It's not a second guess. We talked about it at the time. Not only the stolen base situation, but here's a man that has only had 2 hits or 2 at-bats as a right-handed batter. We'll see how it plays itself out. 2 balls and a strike. Machado, 4 RBIs this year, has had trouble making consistent contact. Three and 1. Barry Larkin has grabbed a bat. You know how he has loved to torture the Cubs throughout his career.
Well, he won't be facing Dempster because he's murdered him.
Well, he's going to face Mike Remlinger then. And how's he done against Mike? A single and a walk with 2 outs.
Well, Dusty hasn't made the move yet, but you'd figure that he's not going to. He's going to let him apparently face Larkin. Larkin's hitting .368 against Dempster lifetime. 7 for 19. He's got pretty good speed on the base paths. Walking Machado, a big situation, because he hadn't had the ball out of the infield. So a lot of confidence shown in Ryan Dempster. Larkin this year has started a whole lot. This is game number 108. He's 6 for 24 with a homer and 4 driven in as a pinch hitter.
Well, look at those numbers against the Cubs. 2 on, 2 out. All this happening with 2 outs. A single, a steal, and a walk. In for a strike to Barry Larkin. This year, in 107 games, Larkin has played real well. Did he go? Joe West says no.
The Cubs think perhaps next year, and again, it takes a while to grow a closer, but they think that Ryan Dempster might be able to close, but that's a year away. Larkin tries to check his swing. Joe West says he does. So the count evens at 1-1. Outfield around toward right center. That's where Larkin goes for his RBIs.
Low, ball 2.
One of the reasons why Barry Larkin has had such big RBI numbers over the course of his career is he looks away, figuring either a breaking ball or something away in RBI situations.
That one good enough. 2-2. You've got Lopez on deck. Remember, the Reds have Valentin as a switch hitter still available at some point. Two balls, 2 strikes. Larkin keeps the at-bat alive. Same spot.
Larkin, normally a hard man to strike out. Now with the visibility, you never know, but he's fanned 38 times in 339 previous at-bats. So you're talking about just a little less than 1 every 10 at bats, and in the major leagues that's a real low total. Good battle between Dempster and Larkin. The game on the bases, the go-ahead run at second. Friel's got great speed, best arm in the outfield by far. Patterson in center.
The 2-2. Larkin fouls off 3 straight real tough pitches. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 10th. The pitcher will lead off. Just missed. Full count. And now LaRue and Machado will be off to the races with a 3-2 count and 2 out.
Barry Larkin apparently has been around long enough to take close pitches and get the benefit of the call. That one was real close.
Runners will go. The pitch. Grounded back to the mound. The sinker sinks Larkin, and the Reds in the top of the 10th. The Cubs are in a battle for the ages with the Cincinnati Reds, who bring on a new battery for the bottom of the 10th inning. Javier Valentin will work behind the dish, and Jose Acevedo is on the bump.
Acevedo's had a real tough year as a starter. He came in the ball game yesterday and he pitched 2 innings. He gave up just a walk. As the Cubs try to win an extra inning thriller here against a very game Cincinnati team. It's been a game that hasn't seen much offense, just a combined 8 hits. Tom Goodwin was going to come on to hit, and hopefully he'll talk to Darrell Cousins about the baseball, because it was skipped down to second base. That's a lesson for you hitters. If you watch the throw from the catcher to the second baseman, when they throw the ball around the horn, they like to skip the ball down to second because it gets a scrape on it and it moves more.
Reds in at third, thinking Goodwin might try to bunt. And a strike is called. 0-1 to Tom Goodwin. Jim Hendry worked long and hard in the offseason to upgrade the Cub bench, and by and large the extra men have rewarded him with outstanding work. The Cubs bench, one of the many bright spots of this team here in 2004.
Acevedo on for the 37th time, the 10th time out of the bullpen.
The Cubs this year have 50 pinch hits, and that one a bullet into the seats.
It almost got Corey Patterson. He was just standing up there, mild-manneredly swinging his bat, and that one rifled over the on-deck circle.
I sure hope everybody's okay.
Get Goodwin on at the top with his speed, you should be in pretty good shape. This is a big at bat for the Cubs.
He went fishing and chased a bad ball. One man down. Back to the top. Here's Corey. He's 0 for 4. The thing Acevedo can give the Reds, if they can't score, is as a former starter, you figure his arm's pretty stretched out. He can go a couple 3 innings if need be for the Reds.
The Cub bullpen up once again, and it's Mike Remlinger. Corey hasn't bunted yet, and if he does, takes a look at Casey, he's well back at first base.
First pitch swinging. Well, he's been swinging a lot early in the count these last 2.5 weeks. Strike one to a man filling the leadoff spot out of necessity for Chicago. And by and large, since August 1st, Corey's done a pretty respectable job of handling the leadoff responsibilities.
That one too high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
With his great speed and his ability to steal, and this combination of Acevedo and Valentin, a good combination to run against. It's an inviting right side to bunt against. But if Corey can just get on anyway, he is going to steal.
Line in. It's caught by Casey. I don't know if he ever saw the ball. It came out of the shadows, and he picked it up and made a whale of a play. 2 outs.
Corey hits the ball awfully hard, but Sean Casey right there, and he makes the play. And as hard as he has hit the baseball, Corey has not had the ball out of the infield in 5 at-bats. A pretty good year overall for Sean Casey, certainly with the bat and with the glove. That's only a couple more errors than Derek Lee, and he's been wonderful.
That's low for Nomar, who is 0 for 4.
Saw Acevedo for the first time in yesterday's game, and he drew a base on balls.
That one off the face mask of Valentin behind the plate.
Still visibility right now very much the pitcher's advantage. They still remain in the sunshine, and the hitter remains obscured in the shadows. As you can see, in about a half inning, the visibility will even out.
1 ball, 2 strikes for Nomar Garciaparra. Slow roller hits towards second. Jimenez is up and over. And the Cincinnati Reds will come up in the 11th inning. Still a 1-1 nail biter. It's a 1-1 game, and by the time this one's over, they all might be going to college. It's been a pitching-dominated game. Both runs courtesy of solo home runs. At the top of the Reds' order coming up in the 11th inning to face left-hander Mike Remlinger.
He was perfect yesterday, an inning and a third. He fanned 2. Yesterday was a day where the Cubs went deep in the pen. And Remlinger's the 3rd Cub pitcher. Just a masterful performance by Mark Pryor. Ryan Dempster for an inning. And now Mike Remlinger comes in. And he'll have to go right to the top of the Cincinnati order.
That means Lopez, Jimenez, and Sean Casey. 2 of those 3 men have hit left-handed pitching very well this season. Let's hope that won't be the case in game 4 of this series. This is a critical game for the Cubs. Mark Pryor struck out 16 innings in 16 men in 9 innings of work. Will not factor in the decision. Ball low from Remlinger to Lopez.
Now, he faced Lopez yesterday. That's to the advantage of Lopez, but he did strike him out. Let's see what he can do with him today.
Not a good start. Ball 2. 2-0 the count. Red bullpen busy.
Yeah, it's up and going for the Reds. Just like Padilla. Juan Padilla.
Lopez made him throw a strike, and he did. So the game is on now. 2 balls and a strike. Anthony's evens the count.
Well, it's Casey and Dunn that's hammered Remlinger, and that's a big problem depending on the first couple of hitters this inning.
You know you've got to face one of them. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
That's why this becomes such a big out. Casey's hit .500 against Remlinger. Dunn has hit .833.
Nobody up in the pen. Payoff pitch. Called 3rd strike. Mike rallies and gets the leadoff man.
It's 4 strikeouts and a walk, so Felipe Lopez has had a day filled with no contact.
And a 1 for 19 series at the plate. Ouch, especially for a leadoff man. Here's Jimenez. He's 0 for 3 with a sacrifice that came in the ninth.
The outfield a little deeper than normal. They can live with a single but not a double.
Jimenez has yet to hit a home run this year against a lefty, and he's a .242 hitter against lefties. Much better from the other side of the plate. And just like with Lopez, Remlinger falls behind 2-0.
Farnsworth loosening up. Not sure if it's for Casey and Dunn, but probably for Kearns.
Well, if Mike has anybody on, it might be for Dunn, especially with the numbers you mentioned. Let's hope it doesn't get to that. 2 balls and a strike. 1-1 game.
Well, they're taking fastballs right down the middle. Lopez kept taking them, and Jimenez is taking them.
Off the plate. It's another full count.
Good straight change here by Remlinger. He hasn't shown it to him yet. Let's see. He went with a fastball. One thing you know, Mike, coming over from Atlanta, he's been in a lot of these pressure situations. As the Braves in a race for the playoffs every year with 13 straight division titles.
3-2 now. Fly ball right field. Sammy is there. He's got it. The Cubs have held down Sean Casey. That's what's scary about this at bat.
Well, that and the lifetime numbers against Remlinger.
Casey, a .309 hitter with 10 homers against lefties this year. Another banner season for him as he looks for his 100th RBI. He's never done that in the major leagues. He'll face his hometown team next. I believe the Reds finish up with the Pirates. Play foul, 0-2.
The Reds finish up at home with the Pirates. You figure he'll get one batted in there. And the fans on their feet, they want to put an end and see the Cubs come up and score one.
Up the middle. At short, Nomar. Good play. 3 up, 3 down in the top of the 11th. This has been a late September classic. 1-1 your score.
Well, you figure the Cubs ended here. Juan Padilla comes in. The Cubs have seen him once in the series. He was on for an inning. They torched him for a couple of runs on 3 hits. Going right through the heart of the order, Ramirez, Alou, and Sosa. You figure much to the advantage of the Cubs because now both the pitcher and the hitter in shadows. You have to like the Cubs' chances to end it here in the 11th.
Ramirez is 0 for 3 with a walk. Cubs led on a Sosa homer in the 6th. Austin Kearns dented the foul pole in left to tie it in the 7th. And 1 pitch retires Aramis. Here's Alou.
actually hit the ball pretty hard today. Lined out the first time up, a ringing base hit in the fourth, a line drive to center field in the eighth. So a lot like Sammy was doing yesterday. Moises swinging the bat well. In fact, both Alou and Sosa seeming like they're on just about everything today.
Line drive, another hard hit ball. Two-hit game for Alou. Here comes Sosa. Let's see if Sammy can end it with a flourish.
Almost all of the 38,000 plus on their feet. They haven't left. They want to see a win, and they'd like to see it right here.
0-1.
Not sure if Padilla can throw a ground ball because he's throwing a lot of pitches up in the zone. But if he does, Moises better break up two and keep it alive. Mark Grudzielanek in the on-deck circle.
This is not a good time for the Norman Vincent Peale impersonation. 0-1. Off the plate, evens it up. 1-1 now. This time of year, you don't care the way the wind looks. You just want wins. You need them desperately. And the Cincinnati Reds have given the Cubs everything they can handle in this 4-game series. 2-1.
Padilla's short armor doesn't seem to have any real crisp stuff.
Ground ball toward third. Can they turn it? One at second. High throw to first. Sammy, as he always does, hustles down the line. That keeps the inning alive for Mark Grudzielanek.
It was a slow developing play, and Moises did go in hard at second base. Would have been doubtful if they'd had two, but well, Moises missed him at second, and the throw is high. Watch it again, and watch the play at second.
Grudzielanek flied to right his first time up. That one almost got through the wickets of Valentin.
You see Moises going in, but he actually slides away from the pivot man, Jimenez. I think Sammy would have beaten the play at first anyway. He did hustle down the line, knowing the importance of keeping this inning alive at least for one more hitter. And then if Grudzielanek doesn't end it, Lee's on deck.
Flare, shallow right. That might turn to gold. It will. Sosa to third. Well, how apropos would this be? Derek Lee might have saved the game in the top of the ninth. Maybe he can win the game with his bat in the bottom of the 11th.
Well, I think a combination of Todd Walker and Derek Lee did save the game in the top of the ninth. And Mark Grudzielanek able to just loop it into right field. So runners at the corners. Chance for the Cubs to end it. And Derek Lee, who started the game with a base hit, can end it with a base hit.
Wendell Kim with a word for Sosa. If it's in the dirt, he's got to take a real good look.
as the Cubs seeking any kind of inspiration they can get. First and third, 2 outs.
Well, Padilla's given up 16 runs in 11 2/3 innings. The Cubs just need another 90 feet out of Sammy Sosa. The fans on their feet praying for just about anything that allows Sammy to dent the plate. And that was close. Padilla's trying, but Valentin won't let him throw it by him.
Beautiful play by Valentin.
Couldn't get a glove on it, but he was able to get his body in front. Padilla's falling behind 2-0.
Derek made him throw a strike. 2-1 your count.
Well, right now, Grzelcyk has to take second base. Casey's not guarding against him. If he hits a ball in the hole, you might have only one play, and that's a force out. Take second.
He's not going. Popped up out of play. I'm with you on that
I mean,
play.
Look, I know that his run isn't important, but that force out at second might be. You just take off. You lost one pitch already. You can't lose a second one. That could turn out to win the baseball game for you if the ball's hitting the hole at shortstop.
And you try to win any way you can. The 2-2. He's going now, and the pitch fouled back.
Well, they lost the one pitch, but they noticed it and moved them along. Good idea.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Again, Grzelcyk will go. And Valentin smothers that. Grzelcyk in safely at second. Now I imagine a new set of signs with the Cub base runner directly behind the Reds pitcher.
As much that bullpen has been used, Dave Miley is pretty much saying for Padilla, look, you're either going to get out of the inning or lose the game. And nobody's coming in to help you, even if you load them up. And Michael Barrett is on deck. Now, he hit the daylights out of the ball when he came on in the 9th inning, but he hit it right at Machado.
A 3-2 pitch. Bases are loaded for Michael Barrett with 2 outs. Padilla claimed off waivers from the Yankees in early September. Now has a big mess. Anton Gullett out for a chat.
Good patience by Derek Lee. That slider just missing on the outside corner.
So Padilla, a kid that began the year in Double-A baseball, promoted to New York in July, then came to Cincinnati. Quite a year for him, no matter what the numbers say. You get to big leagues for the first time.
There's no question, and maybe sometime in the future he might have a chance, but right now the National League is really taking advantage of him. And the Cubs are trying to just put one more run on his ledger.
Let's hope the 3rd time's the charm. The Cubs have loaded him up in the 2nd, the 4th, and now the 11th. Let's see with 2 outs if they can finally break through and win it. Pitch to Barrett is a strike called, 0-1. 2. Now the pitcher has a lot of options.
Well, but here's where if you're Sammy Sosa at 0-2, this is where Padilla looks to throw a ball in the dirt and get Barrett swinging at it. So Sammy on a secondary lead. One takes a look at Lopez, sees how far he is away from the bag. That's how far he can come down. And because Valentin is obscured by Barrett, he wants to get a good secondary lead and come charging with the pitch. If it's in the dirt and it bounds away, you've got to score.
There is hardly an empty seat. Hardly an empty space in front of a seat. White knuckle right again. The 0-2 pitch. Got him, and the Cubs leave the bases loaded for the 3rd time this afternoon. Unbelievable.
Tied at 1. There's only been 10 hits. It's been an errorless game, and once again the Reds and Cubs in extra innings. Top of the 12th inning. Mike Remlinger still on the hill, and he's going to have to get back and get out a man who has absolutely torched him in the past, and that's Adam Dunn. The Cub fans here have watched this one go a long way. Very similar to the game yesterday. Only they want a different outcome. The game ended in the 12th yesterday. Remlinger has got to retire Adam Dunn somehow. During the course of his career, he's been almost unable to do that. 5 for 6 lifetime against Remlinger. Adam Dunn has been tough on a whole lot of people this year, but the guy who had his number was the guy who started, Mark Pryor.
Dunn 191 strikeouts this year, and he hits a bouncing ball up the middle for a leadoff single.
That's not hardly surprising. He's now 6 for 7 against him lifetime.
And now you've got the right-hander Kearns due, and you've got Kyle Farnsworth up in the Cub bullpen. So one would figure Dusty will go with the righty-righty matchup here. He rolled the dice with the lefty-lefty, and Dunn had a base hit to lead off the 12th inning. Here comes Kyle Farnsworth. 1-1 game in the 12th. Kyle Farnsworth has thrown 7 1/3 scoreless innings in his last 5 outings. The Cubs are hoping for similar work here in the 12th inning. He will face Kearns, Bragg, and then Valentin due for Cincinnati. They have the go-ahead runner aboard in this 12th inning. Game still tied 1-1.
The lifetime Adam Dunn, who's on first, is 1 for 9 against Farnsworth, and he fanned him yesterday. In fact, Farnsworth pitched a wonderful 10th and 11th. He fanned 4, and the final out was Dunn. He's at first. He's got to deal with Kearns. And Austin Kearns in this series has regained the magic that he seemed to have lost with all of the injuries this year. He's never hit Farnsworth, however. Cubs are hoping that continues.
He has 5 extra base hits in this series, does Kearns, and in total has hit for the cycle.
The difference in the outing yesterday and the outing today for Farnsworth. Yesterday he was in the sunshine, the hitters in shadows. Today, when he comes in a little bit later, the visibility has evened out. Farnsworth came on yesterday with just a great slider.
Can he recapture the magic today? Fastball ripped out of play over the roof to the right. And it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count to Austin Kearns. Cubs about hit the Reds 6-5 today. The Cubs pitching staff has struck out 18 Cincinnati Reds.
Cubs could use a ground ball off the bat of Kearns. They'd love to turn a pair.
1-1 the count. That one right down the middle. Alou shaded a bit over towards center. Patterson shaded a bit over toward right in center. A lot of room down the left field line. A lot of room in left center field.
If Kyle stays away, you don't figure that he's going to pull the ball. That's why the defensive alignment.
And And the wind high atop the scoreboard blowing toward the left field corner. The pitch. He did stay away and got a very generous called third strike. That was a great slider. I don't think Kearns ever saw it. One out.
Darrell Cousins, for the first time today, calls one off the plate. Michael Barrett ever so slightly eased it back. It was well framed by Barrett. Kearns can't believe it. He thought it was off the corner. The Cubs did get a break on the call. And Farnsworth threw a great slider. That ball just exploded at the end.
Bragg 0 for 4 today. And 2 for 17 in the series. Popped up. And out of play. Strike one, your count.
Dunn doesn't run often, but he's 5 out of 6 in stolen bases. So Farnsworth, although Dunn hasn't tried to steal yet, at least has to keep an eye on him. For a big man, he'll surprise you.
He's going. Pitch high and no chance for Barrett to make a throw. He stole that one standing up.
Well, as I said, for a big man, he'll surprise you, and now he's in scoring position. 6 out of 7 this year.
Valentine waits on deck.
If you can get by Bragg, I certainly put Valentine at first.
Bragg behind 1 and 2. That's the only possible negative of Dunn stealing second base. As if Bragg can't score him, you take the bat out of the hands of a very valuable and potent bat in Valentine. Let's see how it works out. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ground ball towards short. Nomar will make the play. And let's see if indeed the Cubs do pass Valentine here. Done at third, 2 outs.
Well, the advantage of running, that was a double play ground ball easily if he wasn't at second.
Machado would hit next.
Former Cub Phil Norton. He's ready in the pen, but he's kneeling at the moment.
Trying to get in simpatico with the catcher.
I guess.
Cubs appear to want to pitch to Valentine. I would imagine they will do so quite carefully. Go ahead, run at third, 2 outs. Off the plate, ball 1.
Well, I would be careful with this guy because the guy in the on-deck circle hasn't had the ball out of the infield.
Valentine's had a good road trip. 7 hits in his last 20 at bats.
Well, you look at pinch hitters available if you decide to move by Valentine, which would be a good solid decision. And you have John Vanderwall, but he's had such a tough year pinch hitting, just 1 for 27.
Farnsworth's fallen behind 2-0. Dunn against Remlinger, got a base hit. He's at third base. That one over the outside edge. Line drive right field corner, and Cincinnati has the lead. They decide to pitch to the switch hitting catcher, and Valentine puts the Reds in front with a rope into the right field corner, and you can cut the silence with a knife.
Yeah, just hard. I just didn't like facing that guy at all. Dusty did. Difference of opinion, and the Cubs down by 1 with a chance to still win this one late. Valentin has made a living hitting left-handed. He's a switch hitter, but right-hander no factor. That slider, one hop against the wagon gate. The Cubs trail by a run.
The bigger play, however, and the one that we first guessed on, was Remlinger versus Dunn. Despite the lefty-lefty matchup, Dunn has killed Remlinger.
Yep, there's no question, but that's that.
Here's Anderson Machado. He is 0 for 3 with a walk. Cincinnati 2, the Cubs 1 in the 12th.
Still have a chance to come back. It's 9, 1, and 2 in the 12th.
No balls and a strike. Grounded toward first. Lee gives ground. Farnsworth does his job, gets to the bag, and the side is retired. Some very interesting decisions in the 12th inning. Cincinnati breaks the tie and leads it 2-1. Well, it's do or die time for the Cubs, quite frankly. The Giants play tonight. Houston is idle. If the Cubs don't come back in the 12th, will be a game behind Houston with 3 to play with Atlanta. Houston will host the Colorado Rockies down at Minute Maid Park. Padilla's going to stay on for the 12th inning. The Cubs will go to Macias, Patterson, and Garciaparra, down now by a 2-1 score.
That's what it looks like so far. The Cubs need at least 1, preferably 2. Padilla a little shaky in his half. He loaded him up, but got out of it with a strikeout of Michael Barrett. So Jose Macias, a big pinch hitter here in the 12th, and the bullpen continues to work for the Reds.
Macias grounds the first pitch through the right side, a leadoff hit. The bench brigade continues its very impressive run for the Cubs. That's 51 pinch hits.
Taking a gamble with a guy that can close it down who hasn't. We'll see if the Cubs can make that particular decision pay off. Corey Patterson with a 2-run homer just takes all the strategy out of it.
He shows bunt, takes a ball, and last time up hit a line drive that somehow, some way, Sean Casey caught in the bright sunshine. Ball came out of the shadows and handcuffed him, but he held on in the 10th. Reds 2-1 leading in the 12th. Bunt out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. I beg your pardon. To Corey Patterson.
Sacrifice situations, Corey's better off trying to drag it because he's stabbing at the sacrifice bunt. So although he's really improved his bunting, it's been his bunting for a hit. Maybe now, with the inability to get the bunt down, he'll be able to turn it into gold with a base hit.
Tight, close, 1-run games. Little things add up to big things.
Well, remember, Padilla's never closed, and that's much to the Cubs' advantage.
1-2 count. Macias leads from first, and Patterson swinging that time keeps the at-bat alive. You know there are plenty of interested spectators watching on the satellite west of here this afternoon. As critical as yesterday's game was for the Cubs, because you lost it, today's is even more so.
And they've got a premium opportunity to come back. Tying run on, nobody out.
granted. Padilla tried to put the sleeper on it. One ball, 2 strikes. Patterson swings at the invisible baseball. He cannot advance the runner. He makes no contact. He is out number 1, and it brings up Nomar, who, as you know, has the groin problem. If he hits the ball on the ground, Macias has to do everything short of felonious assault to keep the game alive.
Well, Nomar can drive the ball to right center field. Against Padilla, you figure he'd pull it because he's not a hard thrower. Outfield deeper than normal, trying to cut off the gap. Huge situation for the Cubs in a must game.
He showed a bunt and takes a ball. 1 ball, no strikes.
I think Valentin maybe getting up obscured the vision of Darryl Cousins. That one looked good. Right down the middle.
There's a break. 1 on, 1 out, 12th inning. Reds by a run. There's the drive to right. It's twisting, however, toward the Red bullpen and out of play. Here's a question for you. Do you consider trying to steal a base with Macias? Even if he's out with Garciaparra and Ramirez, you still have a guy that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. You get him to second, a single ties the game.
Not right now, I don't. Although he is 3 of 4 this year, he's getting a better lead. Maybe if he gets breaking ball, you run with him.
Not going. Garciaparra with a bunt. The play is to first and in time for out number 2. An excellent play by Lopez, sniffing out a bunt, and the Cubs are down to their last out here in inning number 12.
Well, Nomar tried to bunt the first time up because he saw Lopez back, and he tried to bunt for a hit. And a good idea, but a fine play. He gets him at first. Good play by Lopez. He's got a shortstop's arm, so you know it's strong enough. And now you got your best clutch hitter in a situation with the tying run at second base.
Well, the Cubs have seen enough of the opposition beating them with 2 outs. Let's see if Ramirez can return the favor here.
Maybe the biggest at bat of the season for the Cubs is right here.
Strike 1.
Ramirez has gotten so many big hits in so many situations similar to this. Base hit keeps the game alive. Long one wins it.
Oh, that almost got by. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Could turn out to be a big play. That's twice that Valentin has saved wild pitches. And twice he saved Padilla. Fans chanting, "Let's go Cubs." They want to see at least a base hit.
1 ball, 1 strike. That's 2 in a row, and you know he's squeezing that baseball to the size of a persimmon out there. 2 and 1.
Padilla's trying to throw it to the bricks, and Valentin is doing his best to make sure that he doesn't. These are 2 great plays. Macias would have scored on the second of those had he not made the play.
Cubs hoping Alou could come to the plate. 2 balls and a strike. Now the Cubs down to their last strike on this 12-inning day.
You couldn't have a better man up there than Aramis Ramirez.
Have you ever heard it this quiet?
Well, if you get a base hit here, you're going to hear this gigantic crowd erupt. Valentin looked over in the dugout to see what Gullett wants him to throw.
2-2. It's low. 3-2.
Well, If you put him at first, you got the winning run on. And you got Moises. We've told you he's swung the bat well all day. He's got a couple of hits.
And he's killed the Reds pitching staff all year. Just keep the game alive here. 3-2 for Aramis. And he will. Ball 4, nowhere near. First and second, 2 outs for Alou, who has a 2-hit game.
So now the question, if you're Dusty, do you pinch run for Ramirez, who's the winning run?
He didn't yesterday. Let's see if he will here with 2 outs in the 12th.
Well, Moises has been swinging it well. He got a base hit in his at-bat against Padilla last inning.
The Cubs have Nafi Perez, but no sign of him yet. And Alou will hit with 2 on, 2 out, bottom of the 12th.
If he throws a first ball fastball,
it's going to get exciting.
Well, he's got a good chance of hitting it out of the park. Adam Dunn is fairly shallow in left field. I'm not sure I understand that because he can't throw real well, and you can hit it over his head.
Breaking ball, 1-0. Sammy Sosa has had the best and most consistent at-bats today for the Cubs, and he's waiting next. To Alou. High fly ball, shallow center field, and the Cincinnati Reds have taken 3 of 4 from the Cubs, who now fall 1 game behind the Astros with 3 games to play. The Cubs get a 16 strikeout game from Mark Pryor, and the question around this part of the country is, where has the offense gone? They got 12 against the Reds in game 1. The Cubs struggled mightily to score since. And there you see the unhappy totals. The Cubs a game back, and they have played themselves into a most precarious position against the lowly Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati came in, took 3 of 4, returned the compliment for the Cubs taking 3 of 4 in Cincinnati. Javier Valentin, who came into a flip-flop batting order, turns out to be the hero. The biggest decision to pitch to him with first base open, and it came back to haunt the Cubs. Adam Dunn, who had stolen second base, scores a winning run. Juan Padilla, who came in with an ERA up over 12, throws 2 scoreless innings. In trouble in both of them, and at the end of the day, another crushing defeat for the Cubs, another 1-run defeat, sending them to 19 and 29 in 1-run games, and the inability to get down a bunt, among other things, comes back to haunt them.
So the Cubs are a game back in the wild card. The crowd here in Chicago, hoping for a magical season, at least for this series, has seen it turn into a horrific nightmare of epic proportions. We've got 3 with the Atlanta Braves. The Cubs have got to find a way to tighten things up real fast if they want to go to the postseason again here in 2004. Cincinnati beats the Cubs. 2-1 is the final score. For Steve Stone, Chip Carey, we're going to say thanks to all the fine folks who've worked so hard for us these last 7 years on Fox Sports Net Chicago. A video montage and a thank you to them as we wrap things up here from Wrigley Field in Chicago.
All this silent quitting my dream. 1,000 true loves will die, but a dream lives on forever. The days and the years will go stopped in my dream. We all have our everyday hopes and fears, and you'll find no exception in me. But that doesn't get me through a sea of tears over life's biggest tragedy. So long ago and so far away, but my dream lives on forever. I guess I believe that I'll see you one day, for without it there is no dream. You're so far away and so long ago, but my dream lives on forever. And how much I loved you, you'll never know till you join me within my dream. And how much I loved you, you'll never know till you join me within my dream.
Coming up on the post-game, some Q&A with the Skip as Chip and Steve dig in with Dusty. And after taking 3 of 4 2 weekends ago in Cincinnati, Cubs were looking not to have the tables turned this week at Wrigley. And with the offense scuffling and the season on the line, Kerry Wood takes the ball tomorrow to open the final series of the regular season versus Atlanta. Stick around. Dave Otto and I will have that and more just ahead.
Is the ATA Chicago Cubs postgame show, live from Fox Sports Net.
Good afternoon. I think Cub fans will take this one over all those meaningless Septembers. Part of that equation involves plenty of antacid. Welcome into the ATA Cubs postgame. Chris Bowden along with Dave Otto after this 2-1 12-inning loss. Let's go back to the ballpark. Chip and Steve visiting with the Cubs manager, digging in with Dusty. Brought to you by Nissan. Guys, take it away.
All right, guys, thank you very much. A heartbreaking loss, Dusty Baker. A couple of decisions we wanted to get your thoughts on in the ball game today. The Adam Dunn, Mike Remlinger situation. I know you know that Dunn has killed him. What was the thought process leading off the 12th inning?
Well, I mean, you know, Dunn's dangerous against anybody, but, you know, Mike's been throwing the ball good. I mean, he scripted a little single through the middle. It's not like he hit him out of the ballpark or anything. And, I mean, I'd rather have Rem facing him in that situation than have Farnsworth facing him in that situation.
Well, Dusty, 6 for 7 lifetime against Remlinger, 1 for 9 against Farnsworth. But the big decision was the one with Valentin. With first base open, Valentin, a tough left-hand hitter. You got Machado coming up, hadn't had the ball out in the infield. And Vanderwall, 1 for 27, waiting on the bench. And you elected to pitch to Valentin. That turned out to be the crusher.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, Valentin, he's hitting 230, and Machado's hitting 300, and Machado can get on base a whole bunch of ways, especially that runner on third base. So, you know, that was a decision, Steve.
Yeah, it was a tough ball game, obviously, Dusty. Now you're a game back. You've got Atlanta coming in. You know Houston's going to be home with the Colorado Rockies. I'm sure it's a real quiet clubhouse right now.
Well, yeah, I haven't been in there yet, but I'm sure, you know, it is quiet. But we had chances to win the game in the 11th inning. We had a chance to tie it up or win in the 12th inning, and you know, they got the 2 out hit and we didn't, and that's what boiled down to the game.
All right, Dusty, a tough way to end our broadcast. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you tomorrow against Atlanta.
All right, thank you.
Dusty Baker, the skipper of the Cubs. Another tough series. The Cubs, Steve, dropped 3 of 4 to the Reds after scoring 12 runs in the first game against Cincinnati. They scored just 7 runs in the last 3 games combined here at home.
Well, Dusty brought up that Valentin was hitting 230, and he is, except that he's hitting 270 from the left side and 116 from the right side. Facing him from the left side, I'm not sure that's a good idea because he's hit all 6 of his home runs as a left-hand hitter. Machado hadn't had the ball out of the infield and wound up doing the same thing, grounding to first. I just thought in that situation you want to pitch around Valentin. One of those things. That's why managers are paid gigantic money, and we here up in the booth are, well, we're doing okay, but sometimes you just get a little frustrated. The Cubs lost 3 in a row to a team that they should have pounded. 2 in extra innings in their home park by 1 run. Their failure to execute during this series was appalling for a team that is trying to get to the playoffs. This team has had a good year. but they have to beat teams like the Cincinnati Reds if they're going to get there. Now they have Atlanta coming in. Now they need a little help as far as the scoreboard is concerned, and hopefully we can get a little help as far as the scoreboard is concerned, because right now things are a little dismal around here, but you just don't have a whole lot of time to look back. The Braves are coming to town. The Braves are champions once again. If you take them 3, you still need some help, and to get there, it would appear at least like you might have to go to 163. That's exciting, but precarious at best.
The lone bright spot today, quite frankly, 16 strikeouts for Mark Pryor. Against the Cincinnati Reds, guys, you figure he punches out 16, you're going to win the game handily. They wasted a great outing from him, but looks like Mark Pryor's ready to go for the postseason, but that's if we get there. Right now, the Cubs are a game back, only 3 to play, and you're right, Steve, they've got to ratchet it up a couple of notches if they're going to beat a team in Atlanta that's coming to town starting here tomorrow night. Chris,
yeah, and Chip and Steve, you know, we're going to drop it. You guys have broken it down well enough. We're going to drop the Lexus keys at least for today. And I only got the chance to work with you a couple times, but I know many other people here have had years of working with you. And on their behalf and on Dave's behalf as well, I and they want to thank you for being such a great part of the brotherhood and a team player all these years at Fox Sports Net.
Well, the pleasure was ours, Chris. It's been a great run for Fox Sports Net. We'll turn things over to our friends at Comcast in 2005. And we've got 2 WGN games left, Steve, Friday and Sunday.
And for me, guys, I figure that you do a broadcast, you tell the truth at the end. Things work out pretty well for just about everybody. And Dave and Chris, it's been terrific to work with you. And Dave, we look forward to a lot more regardless of where the roads take us. And boys, it's been a good run for Fox Sports Net. I know that Fox Sports Net isn't going away. It will be Comcast next year, but we've had a nice 7 years. And let's see what the future holds.
Well, we know the future holds a Cubs-Braves game tomorrow, and we'll be here for it. Hopefully the Cubs can take care of themselves and get a little help in the wild card race.
All right, Chip and Steve, thanks very much, and have yourself a good night after a tough victory. And we said on the pregame that after 3 months of ups and downs, Mark Pryor in the month of September has really started to come on, returning to the form that we all know, the form of last year, and he was certainly in that form as good as any point last year today.
And you know what? You can flip up a gem like that and carry a ball club. And Mark Pryor almost did this today, because the offense has been terrible the last couple of ball games. And when you have a stud like Mark Pryor, hey, you might win a game. And Mark Pryor was as good as, I mean, that's certainly encouraging. This has been a trying year for Mark Pryor. I mean, all of the injuries and, you know, not being able to go deep into ball games earlier in the year when he did come off the disabled list. His fastball was alive today. You know, Chip and Steve were talking about Pryor during the game, about when Pryor turned the corner. And for me, it was the start against Florida, where Dusty went with him deep into the ball game, threw a ton of pitches, but boy, he had stuff left at the end. And today, same thing. Boy, you can't pitch any better than Mark Pryor. One mistake, and that being to Austin Kearns. 16 punch-outs. Strikeouts for me are important, because that means, son of a gun, you are dominating a ball game. That's a great outing.
Awesome numbers. Aaron Harang came in as part of a Reds pitching staff that's among the bottom 3 in the majors in most major pitching categories. Hasn't mattered the last 3 games the way the Cubs have been swinging of late. They get just 4 hits off the Red starter, who had an ERA of 5. And back to Mark Pryor, you know, you can talk all about the fantastic performance he had today. There were 3 situations today in which the Cubs left the bases loaded. He was up in a 2-out situation like that in the 4th inning. He talked about with reporters a short time ago.
You know, I came up base loaded twice. You know, would have liked to, you know, find a hole somewhere, but you know, we just, you know, I can't really speak to that. I mean, you know, I was concentrated on just going out and, you know, trying to put up zeros.
Mark, did you feel the pressure today out there?
No more than what I put on myself. I knew it was a big game. You know, I knew from the minute that I was starting to play catch, you know, that I, you know, felt good, felt that I was going to be locked in, and I made 2 bad pitches out of 100 and, I don't know, 10, and you know, made a bad pitch to Kearns when he tripled, and just hung that curveball, you know, and you know, I would have liked to, you know, 1 run should have been enough. You know, it should have been enough with the stuff that I had today. I knew what I had. But, you know, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you throw one bad pitch.
That's about all you can say, and I stand corrected there. Pryor was up 2 times in those bases-loaded situations. Michael Barrett came up in the 11th as well and couldn't get the job done striking out in that particular situation, but you can just feel the dejection in Mark Pryor. He's a low-key guy as it is, but I think this one sinks in pretty hard with this club that's just going to have to regroup once again as they tried to from yesterday.
Yeah, really. I mean, as far as swinging the bats, I mean, they're just running in a buzzsaw right now. I think that the amount of games that the Cubs have played the last month has caught up with them, because I'm not seeing hitters get the head out like they normally do. And anytime you have an offense like the Cubs where you score primarily by way of the home run, you're going to have streaks. You're not going to have that consistency with the high on-base percentage ball club. You might get 4 or 5 runs a game. With a home run hitting ball club, it's going to vary all throughout the season. And unfortunately, right now the Cubs are on a down spell. And Mark Pryor did everything that he could to try and keep this ball club or get this ball club a win, because this was absolutely critical that they win this ball game. There's still that glimmer of hope, but boy, now you know that you might have to play Monday and possibly Monday and Tuesday to get into the first round.
It's been a busy month of September, and we'll touch a little bit more on this offensive slump and losing for the last 6. Cubs offense had scored just 3 runs or less in 5 of those contests. They were hard to come by again this afternoon at Wrigley. When Dave and I return a recap of what we saw on the north side as the Cubs sought to split this 4-game series.
Sammy Sosa has put the Cubs on the board.
Welcome back to your ATA Cubs postgame, and with Mark Pryor's performance today, we thought we'd go back in the Wayback Machine a little bit. About 15 months ago, this is the previous time that Pryor struck out 16 hitters in one game up against the Milwaukee Brewers, and this really seems long ago when you consider the fact, Dave, that this was before that injury in which he had that collision with Marcus Giles in the base pass, sat out 3 weeks or so last season and came back strong, and he's been through the health ups and downs this season, but a lot of similarities there.
Well, particularly the snap on his breaking ball, and usually when you come off an elbow injury, that's the last thing that you really get going is that breaking ball. Mark Pryor is the best that I've ever seen in using his legs. And really, the last couple of ball games, he has a good drive. And when you talk to hitters that face Mark Pryor, they feel like, he jumps at you, with that strong leg, strong drive to the plate, and the ball at the end just has a little bit of rise to it. And he's got that right now, along with a good breaking ball. And that's why this is so excruciating, because you got to figure if the Cubs can make it to the playoffs with Mark Pryor throwing the ball well, Kerry Wood throwing the ball well, Carlos Zambrano, you have a chance. You have a chance to get far, but now the Cubs need a ton of help.
But when they're asking their pitcher to come up in bases-loaded situations, it's 2 outs, and he can't come through, and that's crucial, then you have some problems, and that's what they face right now. All right, he matched that total of 16 strikeouts that you saw a moment ago this afternoon, trying to lift the Cubs back into a wild-card tie with Idle Houston for the 4th time in the past 6 games. Extra inning baseball as if fighting tooth and nail for the postseason isn't exhausting enough. Let's go to the highlights. Cubs had already clinched the season series against the Reds, but this 17th and final date by far the most significant. There's Pryor on the hill today warming up, and then he did get to work. Let's pick it up at the top of the second. Adam Dunn, Mr. Strikeout for the Reds, and he was victimized once again today.
And when a pitcher's throwing this well early, sometimes that really helps the offense. Like, all right, we can relax here. All we need a couple runs, but that wasn't the case. But terrific breaking ball today for Pryor to go along with the fastball. He had that eye. He had that eye of the tiger where he just attacked hitters.
One of 2 innings in which he struck out the side today. Bottom half of the inning, here's that first bases-loaded situation. He takes strike 3 against Aaron Harang. Top of the 4th, though, some more Pryor expertise and just fantastic pitching here. Dunn goes down on strikes again, and he now holds the all-time record with 190 strikeouts for the season. But another bases-loaded situation in the 4th. This is what Mark's blaming himself for, but you can't really blame him.
Well, isn't it funny when you are struggling offensively, the pitcher is the one up to the plate with the bases juiced.
And here's what he does best, though. 6th inning, the 2nd inning in which he struck out the side.
Nose to toes breaking ball a couple of times. Got a ton of swings on that breaking ball downstairs.
And D'Angelo Jimenez here would be the 13th strikeout victim of the day. At least they snapped D'Angelo Jimenez's hitting streak, if anything, today. Bottom 6, finally, some offense, but this would be it.
Well, hopefully Sammy, the last 3 ball games, can swing the bat like he did a couple times today. And that was a good swing from him, a bomb to left center.
573 career home runs, ties Harmon Killebrew. Top 7, though, the Reds come right back, and it's that man again.
Well, I'll tell you what, he had just an unbelievable game yesterday, and Kearns did it to the Cubbies again, because this one could have been over in regulation.
He spoils it. Austin Kearns going deep. Top of the ninth, Felipe Lopez on third, opening the Feldco window of opportunity for the Reds to take the lead here. Adam Dunn at the plate, but he grounds it. Todd Walker to a tremendous defensive play here, as was Derek Lee.
Terrific play all around. I mean, walk to throw this ball off balance over Nomar Garciaparra, and an unbelievable pick by Derek Lee.
Yeah, and Pryor knows how much that meant here. Now they're just asking for a little bit of offense, for that offense to get fired up like he was there. Go to the bottom of the 11th. Bases loaded for the third time, and not Pryor up. He's out of the ball game. Michael Barrett's trip up.
Here's where it's a glaring weakness of the Cubs. When they do get men on base, they have trouble generating a run. And they're a bases loaded situation, and Javier Valentin drives the ball to right field and puts a knife in the Cubs' back.
Adam Dunn scores from third base, and that situation there, as Cub fans go down here with the team. Moises Alou with a first and second situation in the 12th inning, but he flies out to center field, and that ends at the final score, 2-1. You saw Kyle Farnsworth giving up that run heading into that particular outing. Since he came back from his injury, 7 1/3, just 3 hits and no runs, 2 walks and 8 strikeouts. But again, a situation here where the bats just didn't come into play.
Yeah, and that's where when you get in the playoffs, you got Pryor throwing the ball well. Farnsworth threw the ball well, despite getting the loss today. But you've seen it the last couple of ball games with the Cubs, particularly. It's glaring in extra inning ball games where they might get a leadoff hit or a leadoff walk, and they have trouble getting that guy around to score. You know, laying down a bunt. Corey Patterson didn't lay down a bunt today. You know, as far as hitting and running, the Cubs haven't done that particularly well the last couple of ball games. But just getting that big knock at the end. And right now, you know, if you're not able to generate runs by way of stealing a base or getting a runner over, you know, you're not going to get it done right now because the Cubs aren't swinging the bat. You're not going to get it done with a gapper. Yeah. And unfortunately, they can't get that big hit right now.
And the wind's not, when the wind's not blowing out, it certainly doesn't help. Let's take a look at the updated NL wildcard standings with the loss today. Houston, which is idle tonight, has a 1-game lead on the Cubs. San Francisco will play the Padres once again tonight after the Pods won in 10 innings last night. That play in which Dustin Moore tripped over the bullpen mound on what turned out to be the game-winning sacrifice fly for San Diego. So Cubs sitting 1 game back, 3 to go, and they're asking a lot of help from the Colorado Rockies, who go into the juice box for the weekend.
Absolutely. You have to run the table, and you have to hang your hat on the Colorado Rockies, who had lost 5 in a row before they beat the L.A. Dodgers. But Houston Astros, extremely hot at Minute Maid Park. I believe they've won 15 games in a row there, so go Rockies, end that streak, and go Dodgers.
Pop-ups, groundouts. We saw a lot of that out of the Cubs offense today and for the last couple days. One guy everyone's been waiting for and focusing on and been beaten down a little bit, to be quite honest, snapped the scoreless tie. We put Sammy under the autofocus microscope, Dave's autofocus, courtesy of Robert Morris College.
You know, one of the things when you're facing a hitter, you have a sense as a pitcher when he starts laying off some pitches that he's starting to see the ball real well. I mean, all hitters saw the ball well off me, but a guy like Sammy Sosa, when he gets good counts, that's the key for Sammy. In the last couple of ball games, you know, I've noticed that. I mean, yesterday, a couple of hits, you know, boy, you talk about, I mean, you know, he's laying off some tough pitches right there. That's a pretty good breaking ball from Mr. Hudson, laying off the high fastball, getting into those good counts in which he can swing the bat. I mean, he's spitting on those pitches now, so he's seeing it well. And then, you know, this was such a key play in this ball game. This goes into the basket. That game's over yesterday. He goes to the wall. The wind knocks it down. Well, Sammy turned around the wind today on a good swing. You know, he got to pitch up. And yes, the Cubs are with their backs against the wall, but certainly a good sign. Sammy, the last couple of ball games, has swung the bat well, and hopefully the other guys can climb on his back.
Can we just get everybody going at the same time? Is that too much to ask?
It's so excruciating.
Coming into the day, Cubs had just 3 extra base hits over the last 2 games, including Glendon Rush's home run yesterday. And their only one today, you just saw Sammy Sosa's 6th inning homer. And Dave, is this high pressure situation, guys, you know, holding it a little too tight, or is it just the fatigue of wear and tear through the course of the season?
You know, I mean, certainly a case can be made for fatigue, particularly the amount of games that the Cubs have played as of late. When you're talking about 22 games in 20 days, somewhere around there with the 2 doubleheaders mixed in. But the thing, playing at Wrigley Field, you have adrenaline every game. I mean, you're in front of 40,000 people. I mean, you're going to get that going. Sometimes it's a funny game, but, you know, when you are struggling a little bit of getting the head out, sometimes you squeeze that thing too tight and you're just not getting it out there. And unfortunately for the Cubs, and I really noticed it here in the, in the third and fourth inning where, guys like Aramis Ramirez, who are normally lightning quick, just not getting it out there against